You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
Minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Sir Lana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Spaceboy Universe. It is February 24th, 2018, and tonight's guest is steve-colbern. He is an interesting guy, and well, thank you, I appreciate it. Anyway, as always, follow us on Twitter. That's at the SB Universe. Follow Sir Lana at Sir Lana, and follow me at Spaceboy Music. Of course, follow the network, brings you all this fine program, and that's at the SBU Network. Remember to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SBUniverse and hashtag Space Cadets. Want to hang out with said Space Cadets? Go to spaceboyuniverse.com, click the dance and chat bubble, and that will get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Just look for Spaceboy Universe. Speaking of YouTube, you can find more than the Spaceboy Universe archive of shows. There is video content from Spaceboy Music, video interviews, 2-bit gamers, and so much more. So become a subscriber and become a Space Cadet today. Can't catch a show live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Because, man, we lugged the party down on the broadcast system. And on that magical note, other than correcting me in the middle of the thing, how are you, Sir Lana?
Well, first of all, congratulations on getting through that quickly and efficiently. That's the fastest I've ever heard you get through the intro.
Without coughing?
Without stumbling, without coughing. Kudos. And I just think that if you've been given a name and that's how it's pronounced, that's how it should be pronounced. So want to make sure that you understand.
Colbern.
Our guest is steve-colbern.
Yes.
He is a scientist, a materials expert, and a alien implant analyst. Not the host of the Late Late Show. Okay,
all right. On that magical note, yeah. So Sir Lana has informed you, and it's going to be an interesting night. And she's given me the she's for a second there I thought she was flipping me off like the British do.
No.
But now she's giving me the 3-finger sign, and I think she's joined a gang for some reason. Yeah. So anyway, Sir Lana, how are you doing? You do sound a lot better than you usually do. And
what does that mean?
Well, you have been in the dumper, kind of like I have, but
today when we came home from an errand, I said, you know what? I just feel really sad for no reason, and then I found a book to read and I forgot about it. So,
well, you found more than a book to read. You found a nap in there.
I found a nap too,
and so you were able to.
But that was a husband-sanctioned nap. You let me do it.
Well, I just said go. I'd rather you be like pleased that you got a nap. I mean,
the cat and I took a nap together.
I mean, I even took care of lunch today. It was like bang, bang, bang.
It was cold in there too. It was awesome.
Yeah, I've been burning up. I'm going. I guess anytime my man parts are going to fall out from that midlife man part fallout. I don't know.
Let's move rapidly on from this.
I'm just saying that you reach a point where I guess I was having like hot flashes today, and you're saying that
Bob is in the chat, and he says that Bev is doing better, and we're so glad to hear that.
We were concerned.
We've been concerned. We didn't want to bug you, Bob. Okay, but we have been thinking about you both, and just want her to get better and get plenty of rest because we need our marriage counselor back.
No, most definitely. Because man, if there was ever a night to use one,
holy smokes!
See, you already got me choked up. But, so, yeah, I just said, yeah, go ahead, take your nap. I wished I kind of went with you, but I was a bit...
I thought you would.
Well, you know, I really gave it my gun-ho in the regards to social media and stuff like that, because I've been putting stuff out there, posters, you know, just things. I'm working on a new intro video portion, meaning that I'm trying to bring the SBU to video, and not necessarily, you know, this show, a show that is.
There's nothing to see with this show.
I mean,
it's worth seeing.
It's kind of a the old thing that I've always loved stuff like In Search Of and things like that. Of course, I'm no Leonard Nimoy or anything like that, but it's more of a SBU video show, and probably you won't see me. You'll hear Solana maybe, but you won't see her.
No, you never will.
But the thing is that we're taking ideas from this show and then putting it into a video format where you can actually see video of me talking about various things and just things you've...
And I'll sit off camera and I'll throw wads of paper at you.
You know, just like in some of the talk shows where you hear... I guess the guest will say something to the producer, and then the producer gets on the mic. Yes, you've said the guest name wrong again, Space Boy. So, anyway.
Can I talk through a CB radio?
Yeah. Breaker 19, I have a bogey on my tail, and I can't seem to shake it right now.
Okay.
All right.
Speaking of depressing things.
How does that segue from...
This says, don't fret, F-R-E-T.
Yeah.
But the guitar company Gibson is on the verge of bankruptcy.
That's sad because I think that there was a time that when I worked at Guitar Center, they were transitioning away from Gibson guitars to...
I thought they were an icon in the...
They are, but they wanted too much as far as on the back end to actually sell their guitars.
Okay. Well,
but go ahead. I'm sure you got
the company's CFO, Bill Lawrence, left last year, and it was $375 million in senior secured notes, whatever that is, will mature in 6 months, along with $145 million in bank loans that Gibson will have to pay back if it doesn't refinance those notes. So... This means that Gibson needs a good amount of money by the summer, or it's going to be in trouble, or more trouble that's already in. So they think the current CEO, who has a last name I couldn't begin to pronounce, is on the way out because of all this. So it's a matter of time for the debtors or the bondholders, are calling them in. And but they said the strange thing is it's still a very stable company and should be sustainable if they could get past this.
Past the debt part?
Yeah. But it's kind of sad to hear,
Yeah, because, Gibson's such an iconic guitar. I mean, many bands, guitarists have played Gibson guitars. And to see that company, if indeed it was to go away, would be indeed a very sad day. I would be broken up about it. I mean, I know this is...
You don't have a Gibson, do you?
I knew this was going to add... The question was going to be, well, you don't seem like you'd be broken up too hard about it. Well, it's not like I can afford a Gibson, because usually...
Because you got...
Hold on. Hey, look.
What are you doing over there?
My guitar... looked like it was cold, and so I hung.
Okay, this is this is the guitar that you love above all your others.
First off, I came in here
and
I set it down.
That there. Are you?
Hey,
are you?
Hey, our audience, all they need to know is I'm dressed. So, if there was
I just asked him if he was wearing pants because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, so, man, our audience are probably thinking, first off, I don't own a Gibson guitar. I own a Parker Fly, It's one of my favorite guitars. It's black and kind of a pearl inlay, white.
You're lucky I don't take a picture of it right now.
Yeah, well, you just need to mind your business over there. You're making my guitar out to be some provocative thing, and it's not.
Well, he's draped something over it. I don't
It's
understand.
my pants. I mean, that's where my
He's
pants.
draped his pants over his guitar. Why did you do that? This
Because
is a beloved object.
I came in here. I was going to put my pants on. And, okay, so our audience are probably going, what the heck did I just tune into? I'm in my boxers. I'll admit that. And at least my socks
You
are
didn't go
white.
that far.
They're not black.
And I didn't even notice you've done this, since you walked back in
and
here.
this is a fine example of you never noticing me doing anything whatsoever.
And we went out to eat Friday night after work, and
But
I said,
I was
hey,
in
your
my
face
pants.
looks clean. And you said, well, I've had this cleaned up for 2 weeks. Like, well, this is your 2-week inspection. I'm sorry.
I did have pants on at that time, too, in case you didn't notice.
I probably didn't.
I mean, well, the whole reason I went so long
you
without
flustered?
shaving, no, it's just it's like, bam, you hit me with air, bam. I feel like this is a game of a boxing game, and you're like hitting me 10 ways to
You want me
Sunday.
to move on to something else? Because I can do that.
I'm afraid what you're going to move on to. What?
Balls.
Okay, well then.
Meatballs.
See.
So you had posted sometime, I was this week or what, earlier in the week, that Olive Garden, no sponsorship, is got a new dish out, and it is
But if they want to sponsor.
Yeah, they never would. They have a new meatball bowl, and the bowl is made of some kind of bread.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, we got to try this. And I'm like, okay. Well, turns out, and I didn't know this, that March 9th is National Meatball Day. And I'm like, wow, now we have a date.
Now, who saw this article first?
I already said you did. I mean, what do you want, a friggin' gold star or something?
I do, because you don't notice me as it is.
Well, anyway, I noticed you Friday because it was your 2-week inspection. So, there is such a thing as a $100 meatball, and I did not know this. So, there's this restaurant in Manhattan, and it is the Kobe beef meatball. I bet that is freaking awesome. And it's at Davio's Northern Italian Steakhouse. It's $100, made with Wagyu beef, winter truffles, and stuffed with truffle, I can't even pronounce that, cheese, and foie gras. And it's topped with creamy shallot and champagne sauce.
First off, it's in New York. I can only imagine that it's probably that expensive so they can cover their rent.
Well, it's want to utilize some of the finest ingredients available to provide guests with a decadent, unique tasting experiences, if only for one day. And that's just the meatball is $100. If you get something else, I can't imagine, So, I'd taste it.
I'd buy that for $1.
$1, yeah. So, I reckon we will be sitting in Olive Garden on March 9th.
Almost definitely. When I saw that thing, the meatball thing, I mean, it's a bowl you can eat because it's made out of bread. So you pretty much put everything away. It's all that you can imagine that would be great.
I wonder if it's enough to share, if it's just for one person.
Well, first off, I don't know about sharing because it's not in your nature to share. And so you'll get your own bowl, and I'll get my own bowl.
I don't know about that.
What do you mean you don't know about that?
What if it's no good?
Well, then you don't have to eat it. There's always Zuppa
Toscana.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Let me tell you what, this man takes down Zuppa Toscana the way some men put down bottles of beer. He will drink the soup. He'll drink you under the table with the soup.
That's good stuff.
But it's just this soup.
And, I think they get chintzy after the fourth bowl because, when I get the fourth bowl, they don't have, it's like there's nothing in it but just the broth. I mean, it's like they don't even bother giving me any of the good stuff, like the potatoes and the sausage. And
oh, that you're saying they're punishing you for eating so much?
It's like, hey, leave some of that stuff for everybody else. It's like, well, it's not my fault you made this the unlimited soup bowl. So,
So you're saying they're in there skimming the soup so you don't get any of the sausage?
I think they do. I think they do.
It's all just kale and...
And usually you don't finish your soup. And...
Because I'm delicate about it.
And, I mean, when your main course comes in, you know, you put the soup aside, and I usually eat your soup.
But we haven't been there in 100 years.
That is true. It has been a while since we've been there.
Ever since the unlimited breadstick thing quit, we were just like, well, maybe we don't need to go there anymore.
Well, I've never been crazy about their breadsticks.
Yeah, their breadsticks are too salty.
They're salty. I mean, well, it's, you know, I'm trying to think of another place that's kind of like that, but yeah, their breadsticks are overly salty. And, you know, I think a horse would love it. You know, big. You know, it could make a big salt lick. I
could get some and feed them to Leanne's horses if she'd let me. She's got plenty of them. What do you think about that?
Oh, well, I don't know. You'd have to ask her since she's the horse whisperer.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
She's still under the weather, but...
oh, yeah. She's had... I don't know if it's faux flu or the real flu or... There's something going around in Houston that is, like, taking people out.
Oh, you know, it's interesting you bring this up, Sir Lana. You and I were looking on the interwebs there, and we came across an article where Japan is trying to develop a pill that will kill the flu within 24 hours.
Yes. And I'm wondering how it does that, what effect it has on your body.
And I said to you, what, does it kill the person? I mean, you know...
that's one way to get rid of the flu is get rid of the host, too.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't had time to look into it further. Maybe next time we can do that.
What, talk about the 24-hour pill?
Yeah. Because it's like Japan actually cares about its people and wants them to get well, whereas over here it's about, well, if they die and we make money off of it, let's do that.
That's one less person we have to put through insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, speaking of freaky deaky,
yeah.
You know, I shared a video with you of these owls.
Oh, man. That was, I mean, at first glance, you think these are two small aliens stuck in someone's ceiling, or it's two people dressed in strange costumes to make a viral video. But it's like, no, it's just two baby owls. But for some reason, these owls are freaky, freaky, freaky. But they were very chill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would be, you know, I'd probably freak out if I saw that. But, I mean, the video, where the picture is being taken is that when you see these two owls, you would think they're in a room. Mm-hmm. And it's forced perspective, making you think that it's like they're in a room and one of them is like almost 8 foot tall.
Yeah, it seems like they're tall, white, black-eyed aliens. Mm-hmm. And they're not fully feathered. They're not fluffy. They're real skinny. Mm-hmm. And you don't see really any evidence of their wings. So they just like these tall, armless things wearing like stilts or something. And you're like, oh, you finally get it. You really look at the face. Like, oh, there's the beak. There's the little feathers that go around their eyes that make that, you know, that, well, whatever that is. So, and you finally get, oh, these are baby owls. But there's something really compelling about it. You're like, I know this is an owl, but something ain't right about this. It could be, you're like, is this somebody in a costume? I mean, but it's really interesting video. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Oh, good.
Because I like owls.
I know you do. You're like definitely an owl fan. And
my Pinterest, all it shows me is owls and cats. That's all it shows me.
You know, it kind of reminds me of that movie we saw that they were kind of playing up as real, which was The Fourth Kind.
Something about seeing the white owl. You're about to get taken.
Mm-hmm. And that's not the only person that brings that up.
Is it because owls are freaky? Or?
Ufology is, you know, they. I guess it's just owls. Maybe it's the dark eyes and
they're predators. They're night prey predators.
They're very mysterious.
They're quiet.
You know.
Yeah.
All right. Have we
kill at night?
Yeah. Have we hit a dead zone here?
No, I'm just listening to you.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So what else you got over there, Solana?
I'm not really up on the latest on what's going on and being released currently in movies because we're kind of in a dead time right now.
Well, Black Panther has been out there and it's been like smashing records left and right.
Well, I don't know if I'll see that or not.
Well, you know, we'll probably buy it on...
Yeah, it'll probably be like later on.
Like, for example, we just got Thor. Ragnarok,
and we'll get to see the parts that we missed because we had to run out of the theater and just go to the restroom.
Apparently, the food at one of the theaters hit us a little
independently.
too hard.
So, I don't know anything about this movie called Annihilation, but
With Natalie Portman.
they're saying it's the most thoughtful science fiction movie since Arrival, which we have seen, and I was like, this is kind of an interesting take on an alien movie, not invasion, but alien visitation movie. So they're saying that Annihilation is more about, it's more portentous, it's cerebral, it's gorgeous, it's immersive. It's more about how people react in a strange situation. What it is something's happened where it's based on a series of book trilogies by Jeff Vandermeer. So it's an adaptation of one of the books. So there's this phenomenon known as the shimmer. Well, the shimmer started because of a meteor impact. It's been slowly growing and engulfing this patch of land in an energy field. So teams of investigators and soldiers have been dispatched over the area over a year, and everybody goes there to check it out, doesn't come back, or they never report back. So apparently what they've been doing, they've been sending teams of all male army squads, and so they try something new. They start sending all women. So I don't know what the significance is of that, but I'm already intrigued. So, like I said, it's got Natalie Portman in it. It's got another, some other names I've heard, but they're saying it's like science fiction horror that you find in Alien, Cloverfield Paradox. Characters are slowly being picked off by a force they don't understand. And it's like Arrival. It's slow, airless, fascinating film. So I'm thinking this might be something you and I might
take a gander at?
Yeah, might actually go out and see it just to get out of the house. So it seems really interesting. They're saying trippy visual elements from 2001: A Space Odyssey, puzzle ending that seems destined to send us running to friends and internet to unpack the clues. So it seems like a mind F, you know what I'm saying?
It's like a koala took a...
It's a koala crapped a rainbow in my brain.
Speaking of movies, and it's not like I'm late to the game or anything, but I'm notorious about binge watching things, and this binge watching section is brought to you by Harry Potter. I had seen the first movie, and I had seen bits and pieces, read bits and pieces of the books, but I hadn't really kind of gotten into it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to just sit down and get solid on it and start, watching it. And I've got 2 more movies to get through, and I feel accomplished. But it's been great watching it so far. I think it'll lead me into watching The Fantastic Beast and Where to Find Them, which is kind of like a prequel to the Harry Potter movies and books, and depending on how you slice it. It's been very enjoyable, and if you haven't seen Harry Potter and you enjoy fantasy movies, this cup might be for you, so you should check it out, Muggles.
I probably won't watch it because I don't think
it's
not for me.
It's not for you.
And there's books to read, so
Jane Austen sends her best.
From the grave, yes. Hey, look, she's 1,000 times better than that Rowling.
Oh, okay. Well, I will agree with you. I think that I'm not a big fan of her personally, but the stories have been interesting, so I'm not going to detract from watching reading the stories. So it is what it is, man.
All right, good for you. I'm glad you've got goals.
Anything else on your plate over there, Solana?
No.
Okay, this is just deadly. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, well, speaking of deadly, I've been on a meat fix thing lately.
Huh?
Ever since we went to Saltgrass, what was it, last weekend? I think it was, last Saturday.
Yeah.
And
you have not stopped talking about it.
Well, it was very tasty, and just thinking about it, and I've been seeing meat porn everywhere. Maybe that's a bad expression.
Let's rewind.
Hold on. Well, first off, I'm still trying to get over the pants thing earlier in this conversation, but I do.
That's just good broadcasting.
I mean, you just told the audience that I'm not wearing pants. Well, I want you to know. Did you know it's not over there?
He put them back on.
Yes, I put them back on.
He got up, put them back on.
I was feeling conscientious. I could feel the space cadets looking at me through the microphone, and they're whatever they're listening through.
You could feel them laughing at you.
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, pants are back on. Yeah, everybody can return to their upright positions. And but anyway, so I've been enjoying watching food stuff on TV and cooking, steak and been cooking pork chops. So I picked up a couple of New York steaks at the store here today. And cooked it up, and I think I overcooked it because
just a little.
You thought it was a little crispy on the edges.
The cut of steak you bought was a bit subpar.
No.
It was more gristly, fatty.
I'm not afraid of too much fat on it. I mean, I like a little fat, but not overly. Just a little fat is okay on a steak. That's just my preference. But it's all I can tell was that once I cook those steaks, I can say, I'm ready to cook some more steaks.
Yeah, let's get some good stuff this time. Because that A1 on it was just like,
good.
Yeah.
I tried the Heinz 57, honey flavored, and it wasn't too bad. I prefer the regular Heinz 57 all natural.
I think you picked that one up by accident.
Yeah, I think I did too, because I like the tanginess of Heinz 57.
I like actually to mix them all together. Worcestershire sauce, Lee and Perrin's Worcestershire sauce, little Heinz 57 with just your basic A1. Make my own little au jus in a way, and it's just really good.
I prefer to marinate the meat first.
Yes.
And I didn't marinate this. But I did put some Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce on it to cook with. But it smelled good, but I think that's what made it crispy on the edges, because I cooked it a little bit longer than I expected. And but you live, you learn. I still got some meat. And it was.
We could do steak this week for a meal if you wanted.
Yeah, that would be great. And so put that on the menu. Anyway, it's not important right now. We got a show to do. So how are the Space Cadets this evening? Are they?
Somebody said don't remote view Space Boy right now.
Oh, was that K-28?
No, that was the second in command.
Okay. Yeah, I can only imagine. So.
It's the person that sometimes gets there first, sometimes he gets there second.
Was that Yeg?
Yes.
Okay, should have known. But as long as we're keeping you entertained, that's all that matters. But yeah, Worcestershire sauce and, oh my God, ketchup. Oh. Well, I could say ketchup on a bad steak.
Just to drown the badness.
But, on a good steak, you really shouldn't have to put any kind of sauce whatsoever.
If it's been marinated, it shouldn't need.
Well, using the Saltgrass place that we went to last week, it was just smothered with some mushrooms on it, and no sauce on it. It had a little bit of sauce.
It already had it.
It was
the treatment.
It's a cognac sauce, which
cognac.
was it's quite delicious. And,
not Kanye.
Oh, I didn't say Kanye.
Kanye sauce.
The last thing I want to do is think of Kanye.
Hey, stop! I'm going to let you finish your steak, but.
But this place had a better steak. But yeah, you can't. When you get a good steak, you don't need to put all the sauces on.
I had chicken fried steak.
It's so tender and delicious. I make a pretty good. What is it? I guess sirloin steak. I usually get a sirloin steak.
One of the few things he actually makes.
We'll cut it up, and you'll get like 1/4 of it, and I get like 3/4 because. You won't eat a lot of it, but that works out fine for me. Why are you throwing stuff at me?
I just felt like it.
Man, see what I have to deal with, audience? I hope you don't choke on that drink over there. Yeah, there you go.
It's chocolate milk. It's really good. It's lactose-free chocolate milk.
You finally found the gold at Walmart today with lactose-free chocolate milk. And low-fat.
They're being a real tease about their milk.
I don't have the little buzzard thing, so when you make yeah. So, speaking of time, enough of our jibber jabbers. I'm sure the audience has come to listen to our guest tonight. And so Steve Colbern is up after the bottom of the hour. So let's go ahead. Oh, wait a minute. I can't even go anywhere without a little music, can I?
Yeah.
That leads into our technical issue we had earlier where I accidentally refreshed my browser where everything was set up. And it put everything into a tizzy. So with that said...
Oh, that's why you were freaking out over there.
I was like, I'm freaking out, man. I'm freaking out. So, and then there's a bug in here that's really... I hope it don't swallow it or something. Lordy.
Yeah, so it wiped out the queued up.
The queued up stuff. Our queue has been wiped. You know what? Here we go. I've got a couple songs there. Close that out and put that over here. Put that here, and then so long. Are you ready to make a call?
Yeah, I was going to wait till you went to commercial. Though.
All right. So on that note, there we go. There's some groovy music. We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lotta.
All right, we're back. Steve-Colbern is a chemist materials scientist with over 20 years of industrial experience. He is currently working in the area of carbon nanotubes and working to start a nanotube technology company. In the UFO field, Stephen does analysis of alien implants, UFO crash debris, and other physical evidence found around experiences of alien contact. He was a partner of the late Dr. Roger Leir in 2008 until his death in 2014. Stephen met Dr. Leir after seeing him as a patient, shortly after a mysterious object appeared in his toe in 2008. Stephen analyzed several alleged alien implants that Dr. Leir removed from his patients, including his own, and has uncovered startling findings. So, Space Cadets, let's give a warm welcome to Steve-Colbern. How are you, Stephen?
I'm great. Nice to be here.
Oh, we're excited to have you tonight, and we owe our good friend Solaris Blue Raven, the connection, as usual, and so we're looking forward to a wonderful talking session with you.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I was fascinated to learn more about your background in material science, especially with carbon nanotubes. Can you tell us more about how you got into that, and what are some of the nifty practical applications of having to use carbon nanotubes?
Sure. As far as how I got into it, I worked for 16 years for YTC America, a research subsidiary of Yazaki Corporation in Camarillo, California. And one of the projects I worked on was a general project to find more uses for carbon nanotubes. And carbon nanotubes are one of the hottest items in research, material science research today. They're the world's strongest known material, and they have unique electrical properties that could lead to a lot of different products, including ultra-strong carbon nanotube reinforced metals and carbon nanotube electronics, and or combinations thereof. And it turns out that these, in a nutshell, it turns out that these these alien implants, or a lot of them, are based on carbon nanotube nanotechnology. And as far as what carbon nanotubes are, they are an allotrope of carbon that was discovered around 1991, first by the Russians and then by researchers in this country, Mr. Dr. Ojima being one of the first. One of the main allotropes of carbon, one of the most stable allotrope, is graphite, and that is it consists of a bunch of flat planes of carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal pattern like chicken wire. And there's some free electrons moving around the pi electron cloud of each carbon atom, and they're free, kind of like a metal. It's called a metalloid in the terminology of material science. And if you took one of those sheets of graphite and rolled it into a tube, that would be a carbon nanotube. And there are various diameters, and the angle at which you fold the sheet determines the electrical properties of the carbon nanotube. You can have metallic ones and semiconducting ones, and the angle that you are folding determines which is which. And we're trying in earthly material science to put these carbon nanotubes inside metal to give the strength of the carbon nanotubes to the metal, and you can make metals probably hundreds of times stronger using this technique. And anyway, that's how I got involved in carbon nanotubes and basically what they are.
So this was, you said the Russians, they discovered it, or was it more did they put it together, or it's a naturally occurring?
Well, the Russians wrote a paper on carbon nanotubes back in the 80s, and it was widely ignored in the West. And then Dr. Ojima discovered how to synthesize them around 1991, I believe it was. And he was credited as the discoverer. But the Russians apparently beat us to it in a little-known publication. But also, there's a few examples of swords from the Middle Ages, or maybe before. Nobody really knows how old they are. That are ultra strong and were found to contain carbon nanotubes. So they found some sort of forging method that created carbon nanotubes inside the metal long ago. They're called Damascus steel. I don't know if you've heard of it, but that was a big discovery that those blades contain carbon nanotubes.
That's insane.
I was going to bring up, Stephen, that what are some of the applications that these nanotubes can be used for?
Well, besides strengthening metal, one theoretical application is carbon nanotube electronics. So they say some of them are metallic and some of them are semiconducting. The metallic carbon nanotubes have virtually zero electrical resistance. They're almost like a superconductor. And the only resistance you would have is the contact resistance between the ends of the carbon nanotube and the rest of the circuit. And the semiconducting carbon nanotubes can be doped just like other semiconductors and form N or P material, and you can join two semiconducting carbon nanotubes of different types to make transistors or diodes. And this technology has the potential to make electronics much smaller than the ones we have today, and much more robust, and could survive under much more harsh conditions. Carbon nanotubes are very inert chemically and will survive very high temperatures, for example.
So this would be a good use for putting into an implant, let's say, and making that implant smaller and efficient and to transmit.
Right.
Okay.
I have reason to believe that these implants and probably a lot of other alien technology as well contains carbon nanotube electronics built into the metal, and there could be the electronics would be so small there could be a supercomputer inside these tiny implants. For all we know, it's quite likely they contain a lot of computer capability.
Now, when I don't know if you know this, but of course we found out through watching patient 17, you're patient 15, and you've also had your own implant. Now, how did you discover it? Did it present as some kind of pain or?
Yeah, it did. What happened was my ex-wife and I had discovered that we were being visited by aliens, or that it was quite likely that was the case when she told me that I'd been missing from the house on several occasions at night, and she was waking up with red triangular marks on her abdomen, and she told me one time that she woke up in bed and saw this object that looked like a vertically aligned thick piece of sheet metal hovering over her and going from head to toe like it was scanning, and it had a lot of colors coming out of it, like it had a plasma discharge of some kind. And she got the impression that it was getting medical data from her, and she started getting scared. She thought it was pretty at first, but she started getting scared after it had been there for a couple of minutes and tried to wake me up. And she said the minute I started to wake up, it turned into a red beam of light and shot out the window. And it didn't seem like a dream, because dreams usually fade, and this memory just stayed there, and I did not lose any detail. So it sounded like it was a real experience rather than a dream. And we've been finding more and more physical evidence. The red marks. I'd sometimes get bruises at night that were unexplainable. Dirt would appear at the foot of our beds, inside the sheets. And we'd wake up with like dirty feet in the morning. So it was obvious we'd been up walking around, but didn't remember it. And the night that this implant was put in, I stopped by the house alone to water the plants and take care of the house, and make sure everything was okay, because she was staying over at her mother's house after we had our daughter. And I told her I was going to sleep. I got tired and told her I was going to sleep at the house alone, and heard some noise in the backyard, and we'd been hearing a lot of noises prior to that, so I put steps on the roof and stuff like that too, really weird stuff. And So I went out in the backyard and I find these two huge raccoons, one of which was at least 70 pounds. I didn't even know they got that big.
Mm-hmm.
And they seemed semi-tame, so then I was kind of interested in them, and I'm kind of an animal lover anyway, so I fed the animals some cat food and watched them for a while, and then went to bed. And I woke up and I had a stinging pain in my toe, and left second toe, and then a kind of a bruised feeling on the right-hand side of my head above my right ear. And I inspected my toe under the UV light, and it had two green dye marks that would fluoresce under UV light really strongly, bright green, and two puncture wounds that were corresponding with the dye marks. And the puncture wounds disappeared within several hours. And then I had the stinging pain got worse and turned into an electric shock type pain whenever I put any weight on that toe. And it peaked out about 4 days after it was inserted, after the device was inserted, and then started to go away. But even like months later, if I put any great amount of weight on that toe, it would give a little bit of that type of pain again.
So in this process of, having, obviously you're seeing physical things happen to you, and you're recalling some memories, but, through those memories, are you seeing any beings, or has it just been, the lights? And then as you were talking about your wife doing like the scan, that flat metal scan kind of thing, was there anything, entities of any kind, or,
I did remember seeing beings under hypnosis later on after I started working with Dr. Leir and Yvonne Smith, but I never saw any consciously. I did one time have a weird experience where I woke up in the middle of the night and there was this green glow coming from the kitchen, and I could hear what sounded like children moving around in the kitchen, and speaking real low in some strange language. And I was gonna get up and investigate, and I thought I should investigate that, and I just, for whatever reason, just didn't. It was really strange. I mean, I can't explain it. It was almost like they gave me a telepathic command not to interfere or something. And after about 20, 30 minutes, it just went away. And as I say, we'd been hearing footsteps on the roof, and what sounded like invisible people in the backyard. When you go out there, there'd never be anybody there. Stuff like that before that. And
was it ever in your mindset, though, when you were experiencing unusual phenomena like that, hey, like, I got to get away from this. This is just too much for me, or that I can't handle this, or I got to, had any of that kind of crossed your mind, or was it like, no, I want to stay, I want to face what's going on, or I mean, what was in your mindset in that point?
I wanted to face what was going on because I was curious about it, and it didn't seem like the phenomenon was harming us, except maybe psychologically, and it did not harm my ex psychologically. She wanted to get away from it, but I read everything I could about the phenomenon, and I'd always been interested in UFOs, so I'd read a little bit about this before. I'd had missing time experiences before, like one back in '87 where I lost 3 hours on the freeway, and I stopped at the nearest town, and sure enough, 3 hours were really missing. It wasn't a timing error on my part or anything. So I thought there was a high probability I was in Edbeck before any of this started, but this really confirmed it. And I didn't feel like I wanted to get away from it in large part because, according to just about every account out there, you cannot move away from this. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can run, but you can't hide. They know exactly where you are. The implants act as tracking devices, and they know where you are at all times.
Well, at one point, did you're having this pain? Did you decide to investigate what's going on, and did you suspect it was an implant?
Yeah, that was pretty much the last straw. Getting an object in my toe, I started an investigation, and a big part of that investigation was going to see Dr. Leir, who coincidentally enough, only worked a few blocks from where I worked in Camarillo. And I went over there and told him there was an object in my toe the first time I went, and he said, well, he inspected it and said, well, maybe it'll go away, and said come back next week, and I came back, and then I told him the next time that it was related to an abduction experience, and that I probably had an implant in my toe, and he acted like he didn't believe me at first, but he gave me a prescription to get it x-rayed, and I went over to get it x-rayed, and he said to give a copy of the film to the patient on the prescription. So they gave me a copy, and I couldn't wait to get it up to the light to take a look at it. And I knew I was going to see something in that toe, but when I really did, that changed my life forever. I mean, like I always tell everybody, there's a big difference between strongly suspecting that something like this is going on without any proof and having physical evidence and knowing for sure.
So basically, your initial did you know before going to Dr. Leir that he was looking at other implants? Was that something in your decision to go to him, or it was just here's a doctor?
No, I'd read about his work before. Yeah, definitely.
Did you investigate your own implant, or is that kind of out of your hands at that time?
No, he Dr. Leir expressed interest in removing it after it was confirmed that there was really an object there, and he scanned the toe with a milligauss meter and found out it was giving off a magnetic field of 10 milligauss, like they often do. These things often give off magnetic fields, and then when we did have it removed, he didn't have anybody to analyze it, so I just took a couple pieces of the object and analyzed it with the instruments I had available at my old job, and we sent a piece out to a well-known lab back east for trace element ICP-MS, inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry analysis. We did some isotopic analysis too.
That's interesting that, you're a materials expert and you get implanted. I'm wondering, was that, you think that might have been on purpose, or just to test you and intrigue you, or
total randomness of the universe picking you and not knowing that you're
like, let's put this in him and see what he thinks about it, or
Well, I think this was it was kind of a setup to they knew that with all the stuff happening, if they put an implant in me at that point, that I'd start an investigation. They knew I was a material scientist and I had the means to analyze these things. So I think they meant for me to have the thing for a while, then get it taken out, get whatever data they needed, then have it taken out and analyzed and the results published, so that these results would reach people out there that need to hear this message in order to be helped to know that it's real and not some psychological phenomenon. In general, I think the aliens want the news of their presence to come out to the people that are ready to hear the message, but not everybody's ready to hear the message.
Well, you bring up a good a topic about getting the message out. How do you feel about this, adding to disclosure in some kind of way, or is it just another piece of the equation? What are your thoughts on that when it comes to disclosure?
I think disclosure is already happening. I think that that NASA and the government have an agenda to disclose gradually over a period of many decades. At this rate, they're probably not going to complete it until like 2040 or 2050. I wouldn't think, but I think that things should be disclosed. I think the public has a right to know about this, but at the same time, the government is kind of right that it could cause a panic, at least temporarily. But
so you can ease us into it.
Panic for so long. Yeah, they want to ease us into it, definitely.
Well, I was going to say real quick, don't mean to interrupt, but I get the impression that our government seems to think that, we're going to lose our minds if they disclose that there's life out there. And
we'll still have to get up and go to work and make money and pay our taxes. I mean, unless we don't have to do that anymore, let's go and disclose.
Well, I think that a lot of people would just ignore it if they announce that there was, say, life on Mars, which they've found, by the way, and they don't want to say anything about it. But the thing that they don't want to announce, and the thing that it would lead to if they announced that there was life out there, is that is the abduction thing. They don't want to admit that there's aliens coming here that and abducting people and coming into people's bedrooms and abducting people from automobiles.
Right.
And nothing they can do to stop them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because we talked to, if you've heard of John D'Souza, but we've talked to him, and he's saying that's the thing they don't want to let us know is the fact that they have no control. They can't stop it. They can't keep us safe, even if they wanted to.
Well, do you buy into the story that Truman sat down with this supposedly, I guess, the Greys, if you will, and made an agreement that you can take a limited amount of people and do your, I guess, medical scans or whatever, and
As long as you leave us all alone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if it was Truman. I heard Eisenhower made the agreement, but whatever the case might be, whichever president it was, yes, I think there is an agreement like that. I heard that the rumor has it that the agreement was made, and they said they told the aliens that they could abduct people in exchange for technology and in exchange for a list of who was being abducted, and the aliens quickly reneged on that and abducted a lot more people than they said they were, and
because who's going to stop them?
They did give the government some technology, though. But I was kind of mad at the government for making such an agreement at first, but then I thought, well, they probably figured that they might as well get something out of this because they would do it whether they agreed to it or not. So it is what it is. At the same time, too, I don't think the aliens can do whatever they want down here. I think the aliens, the Greys that are doing most of the abducting, have to answer to other powerful alien species as well.
Yeah, because I get the
permission from the
I get
government to do that.
I was going to say I get the impression that out there, beyond, I guess, the solar system, if you will, that there's some kind of galactic, for the better word, federation of planets out there, and
you have enemies.
You have good people, you got bad people. And maybe there's a majority of them that like, hey, you can't cross the line here. And what say you, Stephen?
Yeah, I think that's true. What I remembered under hypnosis from these experiences indicates that there is such an alien UN or whatever you want to call it. They have to have a forum where they can discuss things like that because they're in a worse position than we are regarding nuclear war. I mean, they have weapons that we haven't even seen their big guns yet. They have weapons, from what I understand, that could destroy the entire galaxy or maybe the entire universe if they were used. Mm-hmm. So they need to negotiate, and I think that they probably wouldn't have been allowed to go beyond just a scientific exploration or scouting phase of the abduction program if our government hadn't given them permission.
Well, Steve, we're at the top of the hour, so let's take this break real quick, and when we'll come back, we'll definitely talk some more. So don't go anywhere. And Space Cadets, you stay right there. It's a good topic tonight, and our guest tonight is Steve-Colbern, and we will be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
You know, Solana, we break this rule quite often when we have a great guest on, and
Well, we don't want our guests to be bored during the break either.
That's true. You know, we gave them an opportunity to get away from the microphone, but Steve, you're just chock full of cool stuff, and one of the things you mentioned during the break was about that meteorite, or I guess it was a meteor that fell over India, and they had that red rain. I know, and
tongue twister.
And to give that all context, we were talking about life out there on comets. How I was thinking how they believe that many comets could seed planets. Because of
foreign
bacteria and things like that,
which technically is alien to this planet. So it's like alien bacteria.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I'm starting to get the impression that there's a lot of plant and animal species that are not native to the Earth that are here now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Truly makes this a kind of a special place in the universe. The different types of vegetation, animal life. But I guess Solana, if you want to get back on track,
regarding these implants, and you said your own was given out some sort of magnetic resonance or something, however you put it, and when we watched this patient 17, the quote was materials was a witch's brew of all kind of interesting metals or non-metals. I'm trying to figure out how they put it, but it was you were reading this list of the properties found in these implants in yourself and in patient 17, and I just couldn't believe the things, and I was like, is some of that even native to Earth or even the solar system?
We didn't find any elements that were not that were unknown, but the one that came out of my toe, for example, I'd feel like 53 or 58 different elements, and the very complex structure, and the structure may be so complex that different trace elements are used for different electronic properties or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
The standard alien implant, or the one that's most common, has a core made of meteoric iron,
mm-hmm.
with carbon nanotubes embedded in the metal, which are probably the electronics of the device. Then there's a layer of what appears to be like a bone or a biological hard part, kind of like mother of pearl from an abalone shell or an oyster.
Mm.
And it contains a lot of silicon and calcium, a little titanium, sulfur, and under the light microscopy, it's quite spectacular. It lights up like opal or mother of pearl.
Oh wow!
And then beyond, presumably that has some enzymes in it that gives rise to the next layer, a dark electrically conductive membrane that's hard to cut. That is formed when the implant's inserted into the body, probably out of blood plasma. Then nerve cells grow into the device, so there's some chemical cue in the implant that allows or makes proprioceptor nerves grow into the device. Mm-hmm. And the membrane over the device apparently makes it so that there's no immune response whatsoever to the object, and that's unheard of. And
right.
Dr. Leir was really fascinated to find that out. That in every case that we've discovered. In every case, where he took an implant out, the pathology reports that the surrounding tissue had no immune response to the object.
So it's inert in the body.
Yeah, it's inert. So this could have big implications for earthly medicine if we could find out how they do that.
Indeed.
Yeah, so the body didn't try to attack it and try to inject it to the bloodstream or anything, and then not only that, it stimulated like nerve endings to grow up to it or interact with it, and that's really freaky. I don't like the sound of that at all.
It is. It kind of freaked me out a little bit. I think the pain that I experienced, the electric shock type pain, was the nerve cells growing into the device. In my case.
Steve, as you've kind of looked at several of these implants, are there consistency among the implants that are being removed, that they follow a certain pattern? Are they all the same?
All the same properties?
Or are there great divergence in different implants that you're seeing?
Why the toe and not the leg? And
there's, I wouldn't say there's great divergence, but there are several different types. we found the type I just described, and we found the type I just described with, instead of the outer dark electrically conductive membrane, it has epithelial tissue, skin tissue around it. Patient 16 had one like that, and inside the epithelial layer were vesicles containing an oil that had a lot of lauric acid in it that may be to fight bacterial infection, because lauric acid's a disinfectant. And it also had the nerve cells growing into the device. That was a very interesting object. And the metal core in that one was almost indestructible. It was the carbon nanotubes were well dispersed, and it was extremely strong metal. We had to use a high energy laser to cut it. Diamond tools would not even cut it, which that's unheard of. I mean, you can cut any metal with diamond tools in the earthly metal. Dr. Leir said it scared the shop owner. I tried to cut it at first with a wire cutter, just to cut a piece off for analysis, and couldn't cut it. I said, Roger, I can't cut this thing. So he took it over to a shop to try to get diamond tools to work on it, and they couldn't cut it either. So he had to take it to the second shop that used a high energy laser to finally cut it so we could see the interior and get a piece off for ICP-MS analysis.
Well, whoever's putting these in seems to know the human body well in that, well, our body won't reject it, but they're not really covering their tracks, so it kind of seems like they don't seem to mind if you find it and talk to anyone about it.
Not anymore. I think they did for a while, but I mean they're reaching the end game scenario, or whatever you want to call it, of their program, and whatever is going to happen to end the program is going to happen fairly soon. So they've relaxed the security requirements. This is top secret on their end as well. At least was for a long time. Yeah, they don't want people knowing about this.
What do you think is
more than the government does?
Their purpose for doing these implants?
Well, they want. They have two classes of abductees. They have one class they just use kind of as lab rats to get samples from, blood samples, DNA samples, organ samples, sperm and eggs, skin samples, stuff like that. And then they have another class, like class 2 abductees that they train and implant and use as kind of induct into their organization and use to help further their agenda, because there aren't enough grays to do what they want to do down here. And they also make hybrids. That they've got the hybrids and the class 2 abductees doing a lot of the work on the abductions these days.
That's interesting. So I mean, they're still trying to gather some kind of research and data on us. You think over time they would get everything? I mean, we aren't that complex, are we?
They already know everything about normal humans. What they're trying to do is they're trying to genetically engineer the human race, and they have the implants in part to see how their experiments are going.
So it's just more like monitoring and tracking.
It's monitoring and tracking. They want to find out how whatever they did to you is affecting your physiology and where you are, and they give people brain implants that transmit to them all your sensory data, like they can see what you're seeing and hear what you're hearing and probably hear what you're thinking, stuff like that.
I would not want the government getting a hold of that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I wouldn't either.
Just what they need.
I've heard that they did get a hold of some of the alien implants, and they've been working on their own implant technology for years. But in general, no, I think that's a very dangerous technology to have in their hands. I trust the aliens more than I trust our government with this kind of stuff.
And then there's the whole, I guess, theoretical Borg-like scenario where if we could get us all hooked up and make us all drones doing the same thing, just servicing whatever they need, These are just the ideas that go through my head. I don't like it.
Well, that's what the alien society is like. I mean, they're all connected together via implants and telepathically via the implants to a giant computer system. And
right.
they know what people are doing at all times, and everybody can draw on the knowledge of everybody else, and it's a more efficient system, but there's no privacy. It's kind of like the Borg on Star Trek. You've seen that.
Yeah, well, we're trekkers here, so.
Okay, so am I. But yeah, it's like the Borg, but they have more autonomy than the Borg drones do. But they're all connected together. And with Class 2, with Class 2 abductees, the brain implant they put in my opinion, connects the abductee to that hive mind.
Well, we have
kind of a weird thing.
We have a question from one of our chat room. Wanted to know if you noticed any modifications to yourself after you've had your implant.
Not after I've had the implant, but I think I've been modified. I don't tell this to too many people, but I mean, I think I've been modified since before birth. I think a lot of people are that are in the program. I think what they do is it's a bloodline thing. They abduct pregnant women from bloodlines they're interested in and render a modification that makes them more useful to whatever they want the person to do when they grow up, and then monitor them throughout their lives to see how that experiment is doing. And they probably know how the person from their DNA before the modification would have turned out if they hadn't done anything. So.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, since you had the item removed out of your toe, have you had any more visitations or any more strange?
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. Once you're in the program, you're in it for life. I remember asking them that once when I was a kid, like, when are you guys going to leave me alone? And they said, well, this is never, it's for life. So, I thought that was a dream for a long time, but apparently not.
Do they try to put...
When you do remember something, you can dismiss it as a dream because it's always got a dreamlike quality to it, and I think that's by design. But,
well, you removed that implant. Did they try to put another one back, or they just like, oh, well, he found that one. I guess we'll just leave it alone?
No, I've got other implants, and I think they're getting the data that they need already, and I think the main reason they put that one in to begin with was because they wanted me to remove it and analyze it. I don't think it was because they really needed any more.
Something curious for you to do, huh?
Yeah, I think so. It was something like that. I mean, I remembered under hypnosis when I first got regressed by Yvonne Smith. We did a session about that implant incident, and when they took me aboard the craft, I remember they waited for a long time, for about half an hour for orders before proceeding, because they weren't sure whether they wanted to do this or not, because they knew I'd start an investigation. So they must have wanted me to remove it, or didn't mind if I removed it at the very least.
Well, I've heard accounts of like you say, they would track certain bloodlines, humans, over history, going back to however long they needed. Do you know, or if they're going after certain races, like just, Caucasians, or is it just everybody?
Because we've had this conversation before with Daryl Sims, and he says that the aliens seem to be selective with certain races and lineages, and so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, from what I've seen and from what I think they've told me and everything, I think they're looking for mostly, but not all, Caucasians, and mostly Germanic and people of Germanic and Celtic descent, and they like Native Americans too, and for the program, and they want people that have a military or leadership background. Like I just found out not too long ago, because my dad's into genealogy, that I'm related to Charlemagne and 3 kings of England on my mom's side, and to several generals on my dad's side. So they want people with that kind of a background, apparently.
When you said Germanic, that puts a chill down my spine, because that makes me think, they said, the reason Hitler was so, focused on tall, blue-eyed blondes is because he was in touch with the Nordics, and he was trying to prep Earth for the Nordics.
I think that's true. He was in touch. I don't know about Nordics, but I heard he was in touch with the Greys before anybody else. They had a crash in one of the forests in Germany in around 1932, and they recovered the wreckage, and they deduced from the wreckage that the aliens were telepathic and got together some of the best psychics in Germany to try to contact them, and they succeeded.
Oh wow! No, that's not a pair up you want to think about. Nazis and aliens. So, but that's something I've learned over the last couple of years, or that theory makes me wonder. Where that megalomania come from. Was it just him being crazy, or was he in contact with somebody that wanted it to be that way?
He was in contact with them, and I've heard from other abductees that the uniforms of the gray military look a lot like SS uniforms or black uniforms, and so the Germans may have got that idea from them. I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
Well, that's interesting you bring that up, because that reminds me of the Betty and Barney Hill incident, where Betty described them as wearing kind of like outfit, like the Nazi outfits. Well, they remind me of Nazis in their outlook on things. They're not mean and cruel like human Nazis. They don't have that much emotion, but they're definitely into bloodlines and racial purity and all that sort of thing, and genetics, and they're not warlike exactly, but they remind me of a high-tech foreign military. So I guess, I've often wondered about, when it comes to these bloodlines and keeping it pure, are they, we've heard topics about how these aliens could be clones.
About eugenics and stuff.
And the concern of, over time, that a clone doesn't retain...
A copy of a copy of a copy. It deteriorates,
Yeah, it deteriorates over time. And so
right.
I've often wondered about that. What are your thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, the Greys are an alliance of several species that used to be more like us, but they've had technology for so long that they've changed into a form more like they are now. And there's like 7 different main types of Greys from different planets, different civilizations that are at about this point in their evolution right now. The ones that are doing the short Greys that are doing most of the abductions right now reproduce by cloning. They don't all reproduce by cloning, but some of them reproduce normally, but most of them do reproduce by cloning, and this type does as well. And they've done a lot of genetic engineering on themselves to raise their intelligence, and they bred out emotion at the same time. And they realize now that was a mistake, and they need some individuals in their society that have emotion and human creativity. And they're doing this partly to advance their technology by having human creativity reintroduced into the mix.
See, that fascinates me, because that what you say that compared to what D'Souza was telling us is that they're trying to get something of what we have, whether it's creativity or a soul. But he says they do go after creative types like musicians and, artists and things like that, which, I'm sure my husband was not thrilled to learn, because he's also a musician. I'm like, well, I'm safe. I'm just a stupid liberal arts major, so nobody's going to come after me. But that does seem to jive with a lot of things I heard, because they seem like they're trying to quickly assimilate something we're born with, or we develop over time.
Yeah, they want human creativity, and they're very interested in the human soul. I'm not sure why, but they have technology that can manipulate the human soul, and that's one of the things they're very interested in. And they've just messed themselves up through too much technology, overuse of transporters, too much genetic engineering, and overexposure to radiation, that sort of thing. And they're trying to undo some of that right now.
Well, as D'Souza pointed out in his book, he says nothing trumps imagination, our ability to imagine and create. And I guess they don't have that.
Yeah, brains only takes you so far. I mean, in a way, imagination and creativity is more important. If with the combination of us and them, that would be a more powerful one. The combination of intelligent humans with their brain power. They're about 4 or 5 times smarter than a very intelligent human, from what I've observed.
But they sound like they're really boring at parties without creativity. When I was a kid, sometimes I didn't fit in very well, so I asked them to take me and not return me, and they said no. But I realize now it would be kind of boring to live with them full time. Mm-hmm. We put you to work probably, but
being a part of the collective.
Yeah. In your study and analysis of implants, I haven't heard you talk about this, but something I'd also learned is that some of these implants, I don't know if this is true, have the ability to react, especially when you're trying to take them out. I don't know if they're sentient or they're just built in.
That's true. I didn't get a chance to tell you all the different types of implants.
Go ahead.
The most common types I told you about, but there's also a biological type that moves under the skin. That's made of some sort of cellular material. It's like an organism. Dr. Leir saw one of those under the skin of a flight attendant once that would actually follow your finger if you traced a pattern on her skin. That was like a little clam that would move by moving its bivalve shells into the skin.
Oh God!
And it's kind of creepy. And there's also a moving type that's a little bit bigger, and it's about the size of a grain of rice, and it's got mechanical cilia on it, and probably made of a conductive polymer. And it moves under the skin as well. Willie Strieber had one in his earlobe, and I've talked to several other people that indicated they've had that model in their body as well. Like behind in the earlobe, behind the knee, and somebody else said they had one in the shoulder area, and the areas of the body where implants usually are found, by the way, are the extremities, mostly the arms, legs, feet, hands, toes, fingers, sometimes in the jaw, and of course in the brain and the cranial area, and the chest and abdomen are pretty uncommon areas. But I do know one guy that's got one in his chest, and magnet will actually stick to his chest. Pretty interesting.
I don't. Ooh, that reminds. Again, I keep coming back to the Borg, but they have they would eject you with their little nano bot things. And
I recall watching a YouTube thing where Dr. Leir was trying to get after one, and as soon as he had it pegged down, it moved, and that was quite interesting. It's like, wow, how often do you see something like that move?
That may have been a moving one that he missed. I mean, the only doctor that ever got a piece of one of those moving ones was a Dr. Lerma from Texas who tried to remove the one in Whitley's earlobe and got a piece of it, but I don't know if the piece was ever analyzed. But the main body of the implant got away. I don't know if they have the capacity to heal up or not. I suspect they do.
Yeah, those are fascinating. Yeah, one of the space cadets in our chat room is, I saw that one, Space Boy. It's very interesting. I mean, Solana and I watch a lot of this video called YouTube video with Dr. She's called Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh, yeah, the dermatologist.
And so it was fascinating when we went to go see the patient 17, and the disclaimer in the beginning, like, expect
graphic. It
wasn't graphic.
It wasn't that graphic.
So we saw, the incision made on patient 17, and it really wasn't all that bad, but yet, I'm like pins and needles, like, okay, what is he going to pull out, and what are we going to see here? And I've seen many of these videos, and it's just, I just can't get over what's being pulled out, and after it's being looked at, and then the analysis process.
That's pretty. It was tiny.
It was tiny, but still, that
was pretty small, even as these things go.
And I kind of wonder, when you're dealing with such a small implant. When you're having to do the analysis, it seems like there's just not that much there to do analysis.
Yeah, Yeah, that is a problem with the isotopic analysis. So with some of the elements, you would need more sample than is there to give an accurate indication of the isotopic ratio. So you have to do ones that are present in large percentages on the object. And there's not a whole lot there. It is a very exacting type of process. So just like cutting one of these things to get a piece off for the destructive part of the analysis is problematic at times, like happened with object number 16. It's a good thing that we did cut it though, because it turned out that when the lab etched that piece for analysis, they got the data from the metallic portion of the implant all right, and then they sent me back what was left after the acid digestion. I SEM'd that as well, and that was fascinating. It turned out that it had a complex internal scaffolding behind the metallic surface of the object.
Oh.
And it was all made of coated carbon nanotubes, and there were these regular pits in the surface about 500 microns across, and these pits were all supported by these holes in the scaffolding underneath the metal. It was just fascinating stuff. I mean, clearly beyond our technology right now.
Wow.
Indeed. So we're reaching the bottom of the hour, and I know that we agreed for an hour, but I always like to leave it open. Do you think you could do 30 more minutes, or are you good for the hour, or what are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, sure. I can do 30 more minutes. That'd be fine.
That would be awesome. I know our space cadets would love that. So on that magical note, let's take our break, and when we come back, more conversations with steve-colbern. Don't touch that dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lotta.
All right, we're back, and Solana, chime in if I'm missing something here.
Okay.
We watched Patient 17 today, and a part
on Netflix,
and a part of that episode, it was just the one show.
It's a movie.
I'm so ingrained with.
Yeah, you're so ingrained episodic stuff.
Yes. So in there, Steve is in this particular show along with Dr. Leir before he passed away, and towards the end, it kind of gives you, Steve, kind of like you're holding back the implant from patient 17, and I turn to Solana and I say, Solana, this is one of those things that I'm kind of suspicious. Like they're trying to paint it up.
It was fairly straightforward documentary style until like 5 minutes before the end. It seemed like all of a sudden drama.
Yeah.
It's just strange to me.
And so I felt like this is a great time for you
to have your say.
To hear your say, because sure, that's out there, and it's all said and done out there, but what say you in this situation, Steve? I mean, this is a great platform for you to put it down on the record here.
Well, I think Mr. Corbell is kind of stirring up some drama here for the sake of his documentary, or has stirred up some drama for the sake of his documentary, and I think he was kind of twisting the facts a bit. The patient signed a waiver saying that the object belonged to Dr. Leir's ANS Research nonprofit research corporation as a condition of getting the surgery for free. When he died, he left me as the custodian of the object, Mr. Corbell called me after Roger died and asked if I would be open to more testing on the object, and I said yes. And the person that paid for the surgery, who was my number one, I wanted to make sure that they weren't interested in doing any more testing on the object, and they were not. So I said, fine, we can do some more testing. And Mr. Corbell went on to say that he was in contact with a mysterious scientist he wouldn't give you the name of, that he called Nanoman, who worked for the Air Force. And he said that the guy had all kinds of equipment and could do a bunch of tests. And I said, fine, we can do that if you give me a list of the tests that are to be performed in advance, and allow me to go along with the object to inspect the work and supervise the work and make sure there's no monkey business, and then I get the sample back. And he said he was going to talk to Nanoman, and got back to me and said that Nanoman wouldn't agree to that, but still wanted me to go ahead with it. And I said, well, I'll have to say no then. Those were my reasonable conditions, and that's that. We'll have to wait till more funding is available and do it the regular way, like we usually do. And Mr. Corbell seemed to be upset with that and called me several more times and tried to change my mind, and I stopped taking his calls because he was doing borderline harassment, and I was going through a lot of personal difficulties and didn't need the stress. And so if that's what he terms not taking his calls, then guilty as charged. But I think he was the one that was being unreasonable about the whole thing, and I was suspicious that if I handed the object over to Mr. Corbell for Nanoman to test, that he would just, as the government often does, hand me some fake test results and say it was something mundane. And I'm not going to play that game.
Yeah, we've seen this time and time again when dealing with alien implants, that when they go to be sent off to be tested, they come up missing, or the samples are destroyed. And so I can understand where you're coming from on this, that as I guess to be, what is the words I'm looking for, Solana? The ones to be in charge of the product or the implant. You want to be the guardian, the guardian. Yeah. Please forgive me, Steve.
Keeping it safe.
I have my moments here, but to keep it safe, and not end up in the wastebasket like
or in that basement in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
The government's basement.
Right. Yeah, like we were saying on the break, the government often tries to get alien samples away from ordinary people, or even non-government connected scientists, by promising all kinds of testing and then just stealing the object and saying that they either lost it or just giving the person fake test results and saying it was something mundane, and they threw it away.
What are the chances of, like, you have an accident or you fell down and a little piece of rock gets embedded in you? I mean, the composition of a regular, the material inside like a regular piece of rock is less complex than what you've seen in these implants, correct?
Well, an ordinary piece of rock, I would not be excited about this at all, but it's not even rock. It's meteoric iron. It's the metallic portion of the object was a piece of the nickel iron meteorite. The composition of the metal approximated that of a class of nickel iron meteorites called hexahedrites, with a nickel content of about 5% and high gallium and germanium amounts, and the trace element pattern matched nickel iron meteorite almost exactly. So it's clearly extraterrestrial in that regard. It has to be. It's a part of a meteorite.
Yeah, because that's the impression I'm getting, is that it's one thing, if you're a kid and you're playing with the old Tonka trucks. Back then they were made out of tin and metal. Getting something lodged into you or something, there's a certain level of, complexity metals that you might find in something but the complexity you're finding in these alien implants go far beyond what you see in just everyday.
There's too much crafting involved,
right.
I guess.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, they don't produce any reaction, immune system reaction in the body. They have proprioceptor nerves growing into them that shouldn't be there. They have either a membrane, a tough membrane that shouldn't be there around them, which is hard to cut and electrically conductive, either that or a layer of epithelial tissue that also shouldn't be there. This biological hard part type layer must be embedded with some sort of chemical signals or enzymes to make these things and make the nerve cells grow into it. And then it's got extraterrestrially derived metal in the form of nickel iron meteoric metal and carbon nanotubes embedded in that. So I can't think of a more strange thing to find in one's toe. They're clearly devices. They're not, and they're giving off radio signals a lot of times. I forgot to mention that. My toe implant was giving off radio signals before removal. So was the one from patient number 16.
I wonder why they chose your toe.
The toe is a common place for implants. So Dr. Leir's seen that in 3 or 4 other patients.
Kind of hidden out of the way, I imagine.
Yeah, it's hidden out of the way, and they can put it right next to. They put them right next to bones. I suspect to use the skeleton as an antenna. They broadcast scalar electromagnetic waves, which have somewhat different properties than the transverse electromagnetic waves they talk about in the textbooks. And the skeleton should be a pretty good antenna for them. So right underneath the toe bone is probably a pretty good location to transmit. And it's easy to insert there, and there's a number of advantages. Dr. Kuntz, who used to be one of our associates, thought that the device that was in my toe could be used as a room bug to transmit or to turn sound in the room into radio signals and rebroadcast it.
Well, this kind of ties into what I asked earlier about the commonality with some of these implants. Since you mentioned radio signals, is there a certain radio frequency range that these things are giving off?
Yeah, the one in my toe is transmitting at 8 hertz, which is an ELF frequency, and ELF is often used in mind control type experiments, surprisingly enough. And the second frequency, I believe, is 114 megahertz. That's a aeronautical and satellite communication frequency. And the third frequency, I believe, is 1.2 gigahertz, and then in the microwave / radar band.
Wow.
His toe communicating.
Yeah. Of course, I would hate to lift my foot up to make a call, but, that's another story, a topic altogether. But
that sounds like Maxwell Smart, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the human skeleton makes it able to transmit? Is it the properties in there that make up bone, or?
Yeah, the bone is a pretty good dielectric, and dielectrics make good antennas for these scalar electromagnetic waves. There's two forms of EM radiation. There's transverse and scalar, and the scalar electromagnetic radiation has properties that it interacts with the nuclei in matter when it interacts with matter rather than the electrons, like transverse EM radiation, and it can be stored in materials and re-radiated over a long period of time, and it goes through material much more readily than transverse waves do, and it can also travel faster than light, so it would be highly suitable for transmission across great distances, solar or stellar type distances, and it's similar to subspace radio on Star Trek.
Oh wow!
I don't think that sort of thing is even that difficult to do, and I'm sure the government has it by now. You just basically need a different type of antenna, and you got it, or that's my understanding anyway.
Well, it just goes to show you that there has to be some kind of intelligence behind, the complexity of the implant itself, and then using our nerves to tap into it, and then to use bones as an antenna and to broadcast a signal. That is just, it blows my mind just thinking about it.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. I'm just like, how? I kind of just stayed of shock. I never thought we'd have like that kind of property to be a transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I strongly suspect that. I'd like to do more work and prove that, of course, but that's what I think's going on, and that's what I've gathered from remembering things that went on under hypnosis as well, and from these experiences. And I would like to do, as a scientist, more work on these devices and their radio transmissions before removal from the body. Mm-hmm. I need to get some more radio frequency equipment for that.
Well, that would definitely, I'd be interesting, because as a musician, I'm always looking at frequencies in general, how to heal, how to, project my mind in meditation, and I really believe that there's a connection to the universe when it comes to sound, and these even transmission waves, if you will. How you were just bringing up how mind control. The good, the bad, there's just so much out there when it comes to dealing with these transmissions.
Well, every time he says scalar, I keep thinking of Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, he discovered them. He said in his writings that the waves he was using in his devices were not transverse waves. They called them longitudinal waves or scalar waves. Mm-hmm. That it's been written out of the textbooks totally. The German just did some experiments on scalar waves a few years ago that indicated that they could travel as much as 7 times faster than light in the context they were using. And I have reason to believe that both telepathy and gravitational waves are simply very long wave scalar waves, and they can travel at a very high velocity, maybe not infinite speed, but probably millions or billions of times faster than light at any rate.
Now
Dr. Tom, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to wonder if the skull is like a satellite dish receiver now.
Maybe. I'm not sure, but maybe. The bones are at least a fairly good antenna for transmission of these things, according to what I've heard from our friends upstairs.
Okay. We have a question from our chat room. These implants, like I said, they're pretty much inert. They don't seem to have any harmful effects in the human body. Is there any evidence that you know of that there was any beneficial effects, or are they just there to transmit?
I've not heard of any beneficial effects. People were actually telling me that I looked gray and under the weather when I had the device. So maybe it had some harmful effects. I don't know. I felt a little bit different when it was removed, like it was having some subtle effect on my thought processes or something. As far as extremely harmful effects, I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware of any extremely beneficial effects either. One potentially harmful effect is that they can use these implants to implant suggestions that are hard to ignore.
Ooh.
I don't think they can directly control you, but they can activate trigger training or post-hypnotic suggestions that they put in previously, and they can implant suggestions that are very powerful and hard to ignore because you think it's your idea. The subject always thinks it's their idea, unless they've had a lot of prior exposure to these type of suggestions.
Yeah, I'd kind of heard that before, trying to get you to do certain things for whatever reasons they need you to do it. Again, something I wouldn't want the government to. I don't know why I'm more upset about our government than these entities.
I guess it's the fact of you don't want to be the puppet, if you will, and the idea of somebody pulling the strings to get you to do things. When you mentioned these devices, subtle changes, as you put it, I was reminded that when you set a course, a slight deviation in that course over time can make a big difference. And so I was wondering, started thinking like, these devices, make a subtle change in you, but over time, it could be a different, you start off one way, but become a totally different person.
Yeah.
So, it makes you wonder what the agenda is up to on that.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly how they want us to be, but as far as being controlled is concerned, what your wife is saying is personally it bothers me a lot less to be controlled by beings so advanced that they're like minor gods that come from space or whatever you want to call them than it is to be controlled by somebody that's some political hack that's basically not even any more advanced than I am, just happen to have this technology fall into their lap. I mean, that bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it would bother
me if they were able to do that.
It feels like we kind of know what their agenda is. They just need a small population to keep our resources up so it keeps them alive or something like that. Whereas these aliens are like, well, you don't really know what it is, and as long as it's unknown, you don't know if you should be afraid of it or not. But it's just, I just don't think.
Aliens?
Yeah, but whereas the people in our government, they're humans like us, so it's really easy to figure out their motivations. So. Right.
Well, I think what the aliens are waiting for us to not destroy ourselves, but to do a bunch of stuff that greatly reduces the population on Earth, and then they think they want to take over and do a major modification of the population at that point, saving their abductees and hybrids.
All the work they put in.
Planet. At least that's what they've told me and a bunch of other people. So we'll see what happens. But both the aliens and the government want a major population reduction in the next few years. So I think that's going to happen regardless.
Well, that would mean that the saying of reducing the population makes it easier to control.
Yeah.
Well, that may be part of it. I don't know, but I think both groups are concerned, as am I, that I'm not entirely sure that 7 billion people on this planet is sustainable. With,
the resources are running out too.
We're headed nowhere near this level.
That is true.
I mean, we're in the middle of the biggest mass extinction since the Cretaceous period, and it's mostly due to human activity. I hate to say it, but it's true.
No, I definitely fall in the line of that kind of thinking. I mean, obviously, I'm reminded of The Matrix, where Agent Smith is saying, there's another thing on this planet that's very similar to us, and it's a virus. And, we've handled this planet like, we are the virus and destroyed things and made things go extinct. And, it's terrible, when you start thinking about what humanity, common sense stuff like, why are we polluting the air that we breathe, or why are we polluting the waters that we drink from. Just
because we want to go faster in our car. That's why.
So,
well, the aliens think we're a bunch of savages, and to a large extent, they're right. They think that their abductees are some of the best of humanity. At least that's what they tell us. And that might be partly to get our cooperation more. I don't know, but that's what they say. And human activity is very, very bad for the environment. I mean, I'm not as worried about pollution or global warming as a lot of people are, but it's habitat destruction that's the problem. I mean, a lot of things can live in a polluted environment or an environment that's somewhat warmer, but nothing can live if its habitat's been destroyed. And we're doing that constantly all over the planet, cutting down the jungle and building cities that stretch for forever, and draining the swamps that all the saltwater fish and other animals breed in, and it just goes on and on. We just thoughtlessly destroy things. It's like we're a bio kind. Mm-hmm. That's been a theme in science fiction, even.
Yeah.
Maybe it's true.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when people don't the cause and effect scenario where if these cause and effects really has consequences on when we make a decision. They're not fully thought out, and it's terrible the way
we have terrible motivations as humans. We really do, collectively, to survive.
Yeah. I mean, one problem I have with most normal people, or whatever you want to call them, is that they have no conception of the common good. I mean, it's like they're you have to be out for yourself to an extent, but they're only out for themselves. They have no conception of what's good for the rest of people or the rest of the world.
Right.
That's just like Houston drivers here. I know exactly what he's talking about. Only out for themselves.
No, but I agree with you. I think that I really wish there was a way that there would be more positivity in the universe, and I still haven't given up hope, but I realize that there's a lot of negativity out there, and it just seems like such a uphill.
But is that on purpose?
When it gets the agenda, So, but it all plays in there.
Like there's something feeding off the fear. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
One thing that the aliens have said too is that this society that we built is unsustainable, and that this type of civilization has to die before anything better comes into its place. And a couple things they're worried about getting off of this planet are the very destructive idea that it's okay for there to be a ruling elite that owns 99.9% of everything, including the rest of humanity. Mm-hmm. They don't want that idea to get out, and they also really despise highly intolerant belief systems like Islam, where they say to kill everybody that's not just like you and things like that. They're terrified that things like that will get out into the rest of the galaxy from here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess overall, we're stuck in our fishbowl for now, but we can only hope that the future works itself out. And
if we don't kill each other before they have their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not going to do anything. They're going to wait for us to do something.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And I'm encouraged that finally private industry is getting the ball rolling to get some people off the planet and onto Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean that's a good step in the right direction to not have all your eggs in one basket on one planet.
If I can go in a Tesla Roadster, that'd be awesome.
Oh, well, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Would you like that?
I guess this Tesla Roadster is a couple of million miles out by now.
I don't know.
On its way to the asteroid belt.
I think that's cool. I mean, if he did it with his own money, that's even better. It's not like we had to pay for anything. Yeah. But I think it's funny and it's cool.
Well, Steve, we've reached the top of the hour again, and we want to thank you for staying with us a little bit longer. And
My pleasure.
if you ever want to come back, just let us know, because we've enjoyed you here. And I'm looking at our chat room, and everybody's just
very well engaged.
Appreciated, and thanking you for staying a little bit longer. And it's all good in the neighborhood, sir.
Great. Yeah, I'll definitely come back. I've got several hours worth of material to go over.
Excellent.
Want to hear it. So.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yes,
That'd be great.
All right.
We'll follow up with you.
Cool.
And other than that, Steve, have a great evening, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Hey, what a great guest. Once again, this episode has been brought to you by the lovely Solaris Blue Raven.
I'd love to pick his brain. I wish I was more intelligent as far as scientific things.
Mm-hmm.
My poor little liberal arts brain. Because I do think it's fascinating, him as a materials scientist, the whole carbon nanotube and the things you can do with it. So carbon nanotube, that's organic, right? So it's occurring naturally, right? And they just discovered, or they recreated, and they can manipulate it to make things stronger.
Well, it makes me wonder, Sirlana. In fact, while I ponder my wonderness, let's take a break, and then I'll expose my wonderness.
Okay.
I mean, my wonderness.
Well, as long as your pants are still on, that's okay.
Pants are strapped on. K-28, the circus pants are on, so don't worry. You're not going to see anything outrageous. But we'll be back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sirlana.
All right, we're back. Sorry I had to play tech support with the Solana over there.
Oh, whatever. Don't even start with me.
I can't get it to type. It's not working.
I am going to beat you with your own pants.
Did you try? Well, everybody, I want you to know that, they say vampires, they hate garlic, right? You follow me on this?
I love garlic.
No, but you're not a vampire. So
you might be, though.
I don't. I love garlic. The point is that
show up like a vampire.
Apparently, Solana's kryptonite is what I have in this little.
What is? Oh God!
See,
that's nasty.
That's so nasty.
I really hope you've got your pants on now.
I am eating some pickles, and so they're delicious. And Solana will never come near me if I have a pickle in my hand.
Yeah, it's like I will not kiss you for 3 or 4 days afterwards. Anyway, so we're talking about nanotubes, and I was telling you during the break, my poor little feeble liberal arts major brain can't wrap around hard scientific things. Remember when I tried to explain dark matter to you all? Well, as Steve was saying, they actually discovered this in the 80s, but this website I'm looking at says the discovery of carbon nanotubes, it was in 1991. That's probably when they went public with it. So what I'm trying to stress, it was a discovery, not a fabrication.
Right.
No, it's not something they put together in a lab. Like, oh, there they are. They found them. They are electronic, magnetic. They have mechanical properties, but these are carbon, so they are organic, right? They're 100 times stronger than steel. They're only 1/6 as heavy. So you could use these nanotubes to strengthen almost any other material. They can conduct heat and electricity better than copper. They're already being used in polymers to control or enhance conductivity, and they're added to anti-static packaging. I don't know why. It's a tube-shaped material. As he said, it looks like chicken wire if you were look at the structure. Exactly like chicken wire. It can be thin as a few nanometers, or as long as hundreds of microns, if you can wrap your head around those teeny portions. So if you had your hair at the same aspect ratio, a single strand would be over 40 meters long. That was, to compare. So you can have them in, you can configure these in different lengths, thicknesses, and structures, layers. It's a graphene sheet that's rolled up to form a tube. Can act as metal or act as a semiconductor. So this is probably why these work so well as alien implants, because they could transmit, they could conduct, they could, move heat. There are different types, but they're normally either single-walled or multi-walled, which I guess you take one and you roll it up and you can stick one inside another one, is what they're showing on this example here. You can hold them at a certain distance from each other by interatomic forces. Again, I have no clue what that means. I wish I did.
Well, I wanted to ask him about the buckyballs and how it relates to that too as well, nanotube technology.
Yeah. We don't want to impose upon his time too much. So.
Yeah, I know. That's why I noticed that you jumped right into the meat and potatoes, and that was good because, although we...
I like to start with a little background, soften them up, tenderize them, and then get right to the meat.
Yeah, and good night, everybody. No, all seriousness...
We're both wearing pants, by the way.
Yes. So I think it was a great interview. I mean, it was very engaging, and he seemed, the thing is that, when we got the chance, when I reached out to him, he was a little nervous and about coming on, and I had to reassure him that, hey, our show is not a gotcha show. Our audience is very open-minded. They want to listen to what you have to say. I try to bring it to the thing. It's like, you're coming on over to our house. We're hanging out.
We're not interrogating. We're not investigative reporters.
We just want to know about you.
We're truth seekers.
Yeah, we are truth seekers.
And if we think you're not telling the truth, we're not going to tell you.
Bless your heart.
Bless your.
The thing at the end of the day is, you you said it best. We are truth seekers. We want to know. It always comes back, and I say this again and again, is that the purpose of our conversations when we have a guest is to learn. We may not agree with you. That's quite all right, because at the end of the day, there are going to be things that we can reach common ground on and have a great conversation and learn about what you think, and then you'll learn about what we think, and then go from there.
And we definitely, like during the first breaker, we had him we asked him, is it okay to talk about patient 17? Because everything was on board until the last 5 minutes of that documentary. Okay, what happened here? Yeah. So we made sure he was okay with it and make sure he had a chance to say everything he wanted to say about it. He said he hadn't seen it though.
Right, he hadn't seen it, but he had heard. He'd heard about it. The Nano Man was that guy at the very end. Yeah. So when he said that, it was like, okay, I know, we saw him in that show. When
he talks about the Nano Man, that guy is in Patient 17, and I don't know anything about the guy. I'm not trying to discredit him or anything, but basically this guy has a home lab, and it's it's in the back shed of his backyard.
And no offense for garage people who do their own thing.
That's fine, but I'm just saying that's where he went to analyze it.
If I was going to take an alien implant like that, I would definitely take it to a lab under controlled conditions, and of course, Steve, I understand where he's talking about. He doesn't want to lose sight of it. He wants to be right there on top of it and make sure that no underhanded things are done. And then, of course, like I said, through the course of the interview, we've heard time and time again. I can't tell you how many coast-to-coast AM stories I've heard, whether it be Linda talking or Whitley Strieber was talking about something on Unknown Country about how, here's alien implant. They send it off to get it analyzed, and what happens? It gets destroyed. Or eventually what happens is during the conversations, Linda says something to the effect like, we've sent it to a lab. We're not telling you where we sent it because we want to make sure that it gets tested properly, So there are nefarious forces out there that are trying to take care of that. And I don't doubt if the Air Force hears, hey, there's an alien implant, they're going to be all over that like gravy on rice.
Well, if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Go watch it, and I want you to tell us your impression of what you thought now that you've heard him talk. So, and then tell us, on social media, or send us a message or an email what you thought about it. I'd be curious to know what our cadets think.
Yes, we're just a contact.
Somebody woke Kay up.
Yeah, I know. It's like, where'd the K come from? The pants thing happened a while, Kay. I don't know if you're just getting a digital delay, or maybe your implant is delaying the program, but
you might have been being respectful while we had our guest on, and now
you're absolutely right. K is the kind of K28 is the kind of person. He's the kind of person who will get so engrossed in the program that you'll think that he's gone, but he's not. He is out there.
He's lurking.
That reminds me of another person we love a lot, and that's Patrick Sporer. He's out there. He's listening, and then what's funny is that at the end of the program, within the hour or maybe sooner, I'll get an email, and it's like it might just have something in the subject line like, "Hey, it was like for last week I had said different movies I liked, and I called the Bogart movie Mutiny on the Bounty, and that's not correct. It's the Mutiny King." That was a good World War II movie, and he corrected me, and I cracked up at that, so it is what it is. I get excited at the moment, and things slip my mind, and and as always, we know too many Steves.
Yes, we do know. I want to put this link in chat. I don't know if this is his official site, Steve's, but it does have more about the implants. There's photos, there's links, research. He has his research posted, an about section. He has an actual paper posted and news, and he's got some videos. So I posted that, alienevidenceinc.webs.com. So if you want to go there and maybe learn where he's going to be attending, and some of this is pretty dated for about where he's going to be, but there are some things there. You can find out more, maybe read his site. And
Right you are, Donna. You can't learn anything if you're too busy talking.
What?
No, that wasn't anything negative to you. It might have been my K-28 thing, you know. He was trying to be smarter about the knowledge that we were transmitting to him. So, you know.
We were talking about him and the fact we used to have these fake commercials because we don't have any. And we made a fake commercial where we kind of mentioned him by name, and we're thinking about bringing him back briefly just for old time's sake. Or I don't know if you,
Greetings, Star Watchers.
yeah, I don't know if you decided against it or not.
No, it's in, you know, I have so much. I have an album or two I haven't done yet.
Yeah, but these things are already...
I'm desperate for some album work.
Did they disappear
What?
on that hard drive? Or
What disappear?
those fake ads we used to...
No, I still have them.
Oh, you still okay?
I have them on my machine.
We've lost
lots of data.
We've lost data on a shared network drive that died, and then I had a personal external hard drive that inexplicably stopped working. I don't think I'll ever buy that particular brand of hard drive again. I have a 500 gigabyte, is it 500 gig? No, or megabyte, something like that, external Seagate I've had for going closer to 7 years, and it's great, whereas the Western Digitals are dying and dropping like flies. So
you know, as I was trying to get you connected again to this shared drive, we're already at 500 gigs on this thing.
Isn't that a 2 terabyte?
It's a 1 terabyte.
I thought it was 2.
No, it's 1 terabyte.
Well, then that's obviously not good enough.
Well, no, there's 2 terabyte drives in it, but it's RAID, so it's managing it as
it's
one.
Mirrored. Okay.
Yeah, so it's mirrored. And that's good.
It's a fail-safe.
It's a fail-safe because we've gone through several of these. But
Tech Talk, you and I know what we're talking about.
In hindsight, I'm thinking, you know, that we'll probably get another hard drive like this.
They all should be rated, though.
From here on out, they will be rated. Yeah. So
explain what a RAID is.
You know, it's just I'm not going to bore the audience with technical jumbo jumble.
It's like a way to ensure that your
data
is doubled and backed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So, but anyway, you know, great guest tonight, and Space Cadets, you obviously were paying attention, and it was very nice for him to stay a little bit longer. And like I said, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, when our guests come on, it's like, you know, he was a little apprehensive at first, but once he got in there, I could tell he was relaxed. And then, of course, like always, during our breaks, when we have a good guest on,
chit-chat.
you know, we chit-chat. And,
well, I don't like them to get bored. And I like to tell them, okay, we come back, we're going to ask you about this, this, and this. Is that going to be all right? And I'm like, okay. You know,
well, that's important.
I don't want
because
them to feel like we hit them out of nowhere.
Because, you know, that's another thing we tell our guests when they come on is that we're not into the gotcha thing, you know. We're not 60 Minutes, so, you know, we're not
professionals.
We're not.
We're not trained.
We're not Catch a Predator. I mean, we're not any of those kind of things. I mean, we're just a couple enjoying a good conversation, maybe some tea on the porch, and that's how we do it down here in the South.
Out in the swamp, huh?
Yeah, well, maybe back in your neck of the woods. By the way, how are the swamp people?
From northwest Louisiana. Well, we do have bayous and swamps up there, but I don't know. I haven't been back there in years and years and years. I haven't been home.
You have left it for better comforts.
Well, there's only one person left there I care about, and that's it. I don't have anyone else left in my hometown.
Well, you have your good friend.
That's it, and that's it. That's all I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than seeing her, if I never go back, I'm cool. And I've got Google Maps. I can see the satellite image of the whole town. So that's good enough. That's almost like virtual reality.
Yeah, the phone line is open at 713-701-5214. So, Space Cadets, if you want to call home, we are open to receive your communications. And
you're programmed to receive.
You can check out. Oh, we better not sing because then we'll get gigged.
If we sing, we're only allowed to sing one song. If we're going to get dinged, we're only allowed to sing Hotline Bling.
You used to call me on my cell phone. Yeah, we're a little nutty tonight. It might be because we're all feeling healthy.
I proposed something, but he's not. Spaceboy didn't say we could or we couldn't.
What?
I was going to say if you donated to the cost of running Spaceboy Universe, we would personally call you at a number you give us, and we would sing Hotline Bling to you. Personally, but he has never okayed that, so I can't promise that.
I'm all for putting a donation thing back on our website, and
but you have to put up or shut up in order to do that. So you'd have to at least give $30.
Everybody that listens to us knows that I will go the extra mile and call you
on your cell phone, late night when you need his love.
It's like ring ring. Who's this? It's Spaceboy. Spaceboy, do you know what time it is?
You gave us this number.
You gave us this number. You didn't say what time to call. Anyway,
there's never a wrong time for a booty call, huh?
Well, that's another episode altogether, isn't it, Sir Lana?
Yes. And we'll keep our pants on.
And gives the what Yag just said a totally different meaning if you put it in different context.
I don't think they're paying attention to us
they're
in
not.
chat. They're on their own journey right now.
Solar flares. And
they've tuned us out.
Yeah, that's... my sister's listening. The eyeball things just came up on her chat thing. So, this would be a great time for Stacy to call in.
She's got 9 minutes before break.
Yeah, 9 minutes. Short little call, 713-701-5214. You could try to put your brother in his place, and I'm sure it would make for good conversations, just like Sir Lana tonight.
Well, you threw me off by draping your pants over your guitar. So
hey, look, I was hot. I had to hang him up.
But it just seems strange,
I was in need to be breezy.
Why would you throw your pants over your most precious, sacred object?
Why am I going to throw it on the floor? I just hung it up on the back of my guitar.
You have a chair you can put it in.
Yeah, but that would have bothered my back with my belt on the thing. But that's beside the point. Why are you even getting me into a conversation about this? It's just odd
because I thought you would have more respect for that guitar.
Well, I love that guitar. Maybe I thought the guitar was cold. It
needed pants.
It needed pants. It needed to be draped, And I'm just saying, there comes the circuit pants.
And here comes a phone call.
Phone call. Caller, you're on the air.
Well, hello. This is your sister.
Well, I recognize that voice from anywhere.
She's a great radio voice.
You have that accent just like even 10 times worse than Sir Lana does.
Gee, thanks.
Oh, great.
So, everybody...
We don't have accents. We sound great.
Yes, we don't have accents. Thank you, Tammy Wynette.
You goofy.
Yeah,
I'm Southern, and I will not apologize for it.
Whatever.
Absolutely not.
So everybody, this is my sister Stacy, and I'm sure she's going to tell the dark secrets that Spaceboy possesses.
We don't have that kind of time, do we?
No, I don't think.
Hey, this has been a great show. Thank you, Stacy, for calling. And
oh no, we definitely don't have enough time for all that.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff there that she could probably talk about me. There's so many different stories, but I'll share one about you.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Well, I like bringing this one up because it's a classic, and I guess I can let you talk and tell about it. It's when my sister lived with my grandmother when she lived in Arkansas. And,
goodness.
Back in the day, and my grandmother had told her that, if it's ever raining, I guess to meet her at a certain spot. And you want to go ahead and tell the story?
Well, she told me if it ever rained to meet her in the front of the school, because she would pick me up in the back of the school where I'd have to walk across the field to get to her. And so one day it had snowed, and she waited back there for me for a long time, and I was at the front of the school. So she comes around to the front of the school, and she's like, well, why are you up here? And I said, well, Grandma, you told me if it ever rained to meet you in the front of the school. And she was like, well, Stacy, it's not raining, it's snowing. So she was really mad at me. But, I mean, it was wet. You know, I thought it was logical, but I was only 7 years old, too, you know.
It was stuff falling from the sky.
It's frozen rain.
And
Yeah,
there was stuff coming out of the sky, and I didn't want to walk through the field.
Yeah, we had a lot of interesting times with our grandmother. You know, Stacy got to spend some time with her, and then I, of course, spent some time with my grandmother. And she was a very special lady, and you know, they used to call her Hank. One story that I like to tell about living with my grandmother was that you know, I was living in Bandera, Texas, and I had to take my driver's test in Bandera, Texas. Now, the thing about Bandera, it's small, and the other thing is, my grandmother's always worked at the cleaners. Wherever she's practically lived, she was working cleaners. So she was pretty well known in the city of Bandera, or the township of Bandera, or whatever you want to call it. And so I'm doing my driver's test, and I finally get to the part where I'm going to parallel park, and I'm like at least 18 inches away, and the DPS officer says, son, you're not going to be driving your grandmother's car, are you? And I said, no, sir. And he said, okay, you passed. And so he passed me, and that was that one, right? So there was a time when I was coming back from Helotes, Texas, to get back to Bandera, and I had to pick up Grandma because her shift was about to end, and I'm like trying to get there quick, and I get pulled over by a DPS officer, and so I'm like, crap, I'm not going to make it. And the guy says, you know, you're going pretty fast. And I said, yes, sir. I'm on my way to pick up my grandmother in Bandera. You know, she works at the cleaners down there, and her shift's about to end. And he said, are you talking about Hank? And I said, yes, sir. I'm going to just warn you, just keep it down, but tell your grandmother I said hello, and I'll be there to pick up my cleaning stuff tomorrow. And so he let me off with just a verbal warning, and just because my grandmother was known at that time throughout the community. So, yeah, she knew all the police and the DPS.
Everybody knew her.
Everybody came in there, and they will never make another grandmother like her because she was just so special and unique.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, sis, if you don't mind me asking, how are you holding up with the impending marriage of your daughter?
Oh, my goodness. I cannot believe you just asked me that. I want to pull my hair out.
Sorry, I had to wait. I guess I had to do a get you question tonight. So,
Which
That's
daughter?
okay. That's all right.
Which
I'll
daughter?
get you back.
Bailey or Sky?
Sky's getting
married next weekend
Well, that's right, because Bailey's
in
right there.
Kentucky.
Mhm.
So we'll be flying out Friday to Nashville, and then we'll drive to Kentucky from there.
That should be
Where
an
she's
interesting
going to get
drive.
married. So, and then I'm done with kids. Hallelujah.
Looks like you finally made it, huh?
Looks like we made it.
Stole my singing line, but I was trying to keep it cool. But I try not to tell too many people I love Barry Manilow, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah, keep that to yourself.
Hey, at the coop.
Guilty pleasure.
Yes, guilty
No,
pleasure.
seriously, keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear it.
Well,
Oh,
I think it's exciting, that she's getting married, and it's like you said, you're finally getting rid of all the kids, and I guess the ultimate question is, since we were speaking of Hank, that means grandmotherhood should be just around the corner someday soon.
Well, Bailey and Josh are trying, so you never know. It could be really soon.
So, are you excited by the
Really
prospect of being grandma now?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited about it, actually.
So, you're like, what is it, you're 80 now, or?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Don't forget, you are still older than me.
Yeah, but I look damn good in pictures.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, my goodness. I'll smack him after the program, Stacey. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can smack him like twice for that one.
I will.
Yeah, I have to admit, you still look pretty good in pictures, but you also haven't changed in 20 years, and I don't know how the hell you've done that.
You want to comment on that?
Some kind of pact with the devil or a Dorian Gray effect, apparently, or
you say I haven't really changed much, but Sirlana is slowly making me go bald, and so I'm slowly losing. I got a yarmulke the size of Texas on the back of my head.
A flesh yarmulke.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well,
I don't even bother you.
You're preserving your age well. What can I say?
Yes, like a fine wine with cheese.
Definitely with a lot of cheese.
Well, sis, I love you, and I'm so glad that you called in, and people are getting to know you in the chat room, and I'm glad that they're finding that you are just peaches and cream.
Well, I just absolutely adore everybody in the chat room, and they've been so welcoming, and they're all so super nice, and you guys are so super informative and make me smarter every time I listen to you. So
yeah,
I love it.
You cracked me up the other day. You were talking to your husband George, and you were coming home and you went, "Oh my God!" And of course George, I guess, thought that you had killed something or something catastrophe happened, and you were saying it's Space Boy night, and so that cracked me up because you've reached that point where you're like us, where hey, we went out to Walmart, we had a great time, and then we came home.
Yeah,
that's our life.
Yeah, Walmart was so fun.
Hey, did you see they had a 2-for-1 sale over there on the shoes? We need to go check it out. Well, sis, I love you, man.
I love you too, and you too, sis Lana.
Thank you.
I'll give you I'll give you a phone hug very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it, and I'll talk to all y'all soon.
All right, dear. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There's my sister. I was glad she called in. It gives you a chance to get the our relationship, and
I'm still going to smack you afterwards.
Whatever.
On her behalf.
Let's see. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour. Let's take a break.
And when we come back, I want you to talk about something you told me earlier today.
Uh-oh. That could be so many things. What could it be? I don't know.
I'll tell you during the break.
All right.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sirlana.
right, we're back. A little goat action for our friend K28.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah, we are. Are you okay over there, so long?
I got caught up in something else.
So, the great chicken scare of the UK at KFC has been going on.
I cannot wrap my head around this.
I guess it's vendors that they I guess didn't deliver to their location.
Okay, so you're telling me every KFC in that country gets a shipment of chicken at the same time? Now, I'm on mirror.co.uk. It says, fast food giant KFC forced to close more than 600 restaurants due to a chicken shortage. One, I didn't know there were that many people eating KFC abroad.
Okay, so I think I can put this in perspective for you because I've worked in the restaurant field before. You have a company that will bring certain items, like a produce company.
Okay.
Where if you're like a burger restaurant, you have lettuce, you have tomatoes. Well, it comes from a produce company of some kind. Or if you're McDonald's, it comes from one place because they can do it all. But most places, they'll have a produce company bring your stuff like that to the store, so you're stocked. So if they're making deliveries to your store, they're also making deliveries to another company altogether. So let's say that KFC in Great Britain or UK, however you want to slice it, is sending their chicken meat to different locations in KFC because KFC has paid to have a company do that. Then there's a possibility if there's a breakdown in that chain of custody that the stores are not going to get their chicken supplies.
Well, they said the supplier ran out of chicken. So I don't know where their supplier is getting, but now they're saying 629 restaurants across the UK. And they haven't taken it well, which is strange that I didn't know there were that many people in the UK this devoted to KFC. The police having to release a statement asking them to stop calling 999 about it, which is their 911, 999. Mm-hmm. Who is calling the emergency phone number looking for chicken? Oh my gosh, you think that'd be happening here? Now, what's funny is other restaurants and businesses that are near these KFC restaurants are mocking them openly. There's a photo here of some restaurant called The Optimist, which is 4 doors down from a KFC that's temporarily shut down. And their sign reads, "We may be optimistic, but we don't count our chickens until they've hatched. And then we have chicken, and it's finger-licking great." So there's a close-up of it. Now, they said they wouldn't go into a KFC. They saw it as an opportunity to try something else. They sold out their chicken on the first day since the KFC went, forced to close. So, guess who's delivering KFC's chicken?
Who?
DHL.
Well, there you go. There's the problem.
There's your problem.
So I guess when they called 0118999 881999119 725.
Yeah. That's a It Crowd reference.
Sorry, it was a bad rendition. But anyway.
KFC's delivery company, DHL, told the Mirror online, due to operational issues, a number of deliveries in recent days have been incomplete or delayed. We're working with our partners to rectify the situation as a priority and apologize for any inconvenience that may cause. So you can't get your chicken and your gravy, and I feel for them. I can't imagine if that happened here. It's like, is that the only place that serves fried chicken over there in that country?
I was going to say, I don't think that would be a problem considering that there are plenty of chicken farms for...
Well, I imagine it might be a popular restaurant because, at least KFC actually has flavor in their food as opposed to other UK dishes.
The Colonel's Ashes, 12 original flavors.
I'm sorry, it is tasty. You and I've eaten it recently.
That is true.
So you're a big old hypocrite.
Mine was smothered with barbecue sauce on it.
I got the usual crispy, with the double mashed potatoes, because I'm going to tell you what, I don't care if those mashed potatoes aren't real. I don't care if those mashed potatoes are completely GMO, or if they're made with the ground up bones of, mice brains or whatever. It's good, and I'm going to eat it upon occasion.
KFC's mashed potatoes is people.
It's good. I've not had their mac and cheese, but I know that their mac and cheese will help you recover from a hangover.
Oh, well, we've verified that. Thanks, Contact in the Desert 2014.
I got you that as a nice
Yes, it was helpful. I appreciate it.
And you and I have never been that inebriated since.
2015.
I know, but you and I have never been that.
Oh yeah,
that close to being.
I mean, you've been closer than I have. You've had a few.
No, not
Baileys,
since then.
Or you've had.
Oh no, not since the desert. I've never been close to being that messed up when I was drunk in the desert.
I guess Dina was trying to keep you straight the second time we were there.
Yeah, I think goodness Dina was there to chat with. I didn't get too far gone.
Oh no! I wasn't going to let a certain individual, drink me under the table.
And you drove us home, which I couldn't believe.
Yes, well,
and everything was fine.
Yeah,
of course, it was a desert. It's not like there was traffic.
It's true. So anyway,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, see, Stacy's just mentioned your show right there. Drunk
History?
Yeah,
I love that show, Drunk History. It is so good. Now, I have yet to see the British Drunk History. Now, you think somebody's drunk trying to tell you a story. Can you imagine Hardball over there where they could drink us under the table, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard the most... You got the English and you got the Scots. And then you got the Australians, but I heard the people to really drink you under the table are the Welsh. That's what I've always heard. It's the Welsh. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I've heard. I'm sure maybe the Germans too. But
I'm surprised you didn't go like Scots on that one. I mean, I thought you'd
think, well, there's two wonderful things in Scotland.
See, I didn't want to assume Irish.
There's two wonderful things over there in Scotland: whiskey and men in skirts. So.
Well, I don't know, not every man in a skirt might not be what you're hoping it would be.
Well, there's a guy right here lives across from us that pretty much lives in a utility kilt.
Well, those are pretty cool. I wouldn't mind wearing one.
He's
of
an
those.
older guy, and I'm not interested in what goes on underneath that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you would be good for this because you wouldn't have to wear pants during the show. You could wear a kilt.
Well, nice and breezy, I guess. Keeping it nice and breezy.
You do have nice gams.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
Hairy, but nice.
Well, I'm a man.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, before I put the pants
Well, at your next 2-week inspection, I'll make sure that that's true.
Oh, bless your heart. You
ever had a Guinness?
I'm not much into Guinness.
I've never tasted. I've heard. Here's what I've heard it tastes like. I've heard it tastes like somebody took a steak and mashed potatoes and made it into a drink.
Really?
Yes.
I will have.
I heard it, and that's from Kathleen Madigan.
Yeah.
And,
you don't think she was just being funny when she said that?
Well, she was brought up Irish Catholic, so of course she drinks it. And she's actually gone to Ireland and drank it over there. So.
It's kind of like lately I've had a few dreams.
Circus kills.
I know. I was trying to avoid it, but thanks. K28. I have had a lot of dreams lately of drinking beer.
Really?
Lately, yes.
You want something refreshing and disgusting?
No, I mean, not all beer is disgusting. I mean, well, Heineken maybe, but, that's a different story altogether. I don't know how anybody could drink a Heineken. So,
I've never had that, so I'm not into beer at all.
I am more into the Willy Wonka where liquor is quicker.
I'm into hard liquor, clear liquor, with occasional Baileys and margaritas and daiquiris, but vodka, tequila, whatever the other clear stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else that is. I don't know. I want it to act quickly.
Well, see, I like a fruity drink. Like a strawberry daiquiri or a margarita, especially margaritas with some good Mexican food.
We could have had that if we weren't both driving Friday night.
You say that, but I go back.
We could have just stayed there till we were sober. I mean, they would have loved it.
Look, anytime
they love you there.
Anytime I am loved everywhere I go. Hey, you're back, sir. We haven't seen you in 3 years.
I was telling you, they were fawning over you Friday night.
You know, it's
They come back next weekend. He wanted you to come back this coming weekend.
Solana, you know, whenever we go to a store that we frequent, I'd like to think that
you must have fans that adore you, so you foster these relationships with them.
There's one at the Walmart. I walk in, he knows me, he gives me a handshake. There's people at the HEB we go to, and I know by name. Even that one guy, Gary, at the Walmart.
Oh, Gary.
Well, you know, he doesn't have much on the personality, but I just
no,
enjoy
don't say that.
Enjoy catching him off guard, and anywhere we go, like food places. At least, have you had a bad service at a place that we've ever been that they know us?
No, we just don't go back there.
What are you talking about?
If we have a bad service, we usually don't go back.
That is true. Like, I've got a bone to pick with Taco Cabana, which... So the other day I went to, I was out in the field doing the IT stuff that I normally do, and I was driving by Taco Cabana, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a couple of street tacos, my life will be good, I'll go in, sit down, take a little break, go in, and what happens is, I get them, they take my order, and put my card in because it has the stupid chip, and their equipment goes out, and I'm like, okay, so does that mean my food is free? And they say, oh, no, we can't give you any free food, or can we, do your order because it's not coming out. I said, great. And so I paused there for a second and thinking, maybe a manager should come over here and talk to me. Well, a manager didn't. So I left. But, when I left, I was thinking, here I've just spent $15 on some street tacos, and they're going to charge me for something that I didn't get, and the fact that they didn't give me any halfway decent customer service. They said, okay, well, we're sorry, Mr. Guerrero, you will have this probably be reversed off in the next 24 to 48 hours. Well, 48 hours passed, and they definitely charged me for a meal I didn't get. So I had to call back, and then in that process, they said, "Well, you need to call this number, and we promise they'll take it off." So that's where I'm at in this process, and that whole process gets my goat. There you go.
So that's what that was all about.
What, with the Taco Cabana?
Yeah, I was sort of half listening to you. I didn't know what you were talking about. So.
You were half listening to me? We've got that on record. You were half listening to me? That's about as good as the conversation I had earlier about, hey, have you seen? And you said, yeah, I've seen it already. And you just put
because I had seen it.
You put the hand up, like talk to the hand kind of thing, and you're like, it really hurt my feelings, Solana.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, you constantly breaking this marriage apart.
I'm looking at...
I'm like, what are you... You're not even paying attention to me now.
I'm looking at somebody's... I guess somebody set up like a webcam as a surveillance inside their home, like a security thing.
Yeah.
So it's black and white. And it's nighttime. And coming off the edge is what looks like the world's largest spider.
Oh. Just
creeping around in front of the camera. And it's just like, ew, you would not like this video.
What? Then why are you bringing it up at almost midnight here and before we're going to go to bed?
Isn't there some kind of piece of trivia that says over your lifetime you will have swallowed X amount of spiders?
Yeah, well,
in your sleep?
I'm sure there's a lot of crap that you've probably eaten or digested either through that or through the manufacturing of food products here in the United States.
But that's protein.
It's not as bad as it was back in the, I guess, the turn of the century, because I can't put a specific date on when the FDA, or no, oh God, I can't believe. Anyway, they passed it to where they monitored food because there was a lot of things being found in food products, and so the better our food quality in products, I'm sure it'll come to me later. Maybe our space cadets will chime in on that. But they created an organization to monitor our food products.
Oh, okay.
And even though they did that, it's still going to be a chance where you find a frog in a salad bag, or you find a rat half torn up inside some chili can, or some kind of randomness like that. It's going to happen. It's an inevitability when you're mass producing food like that. It's an inevitability. Now, just keep in mind that when you get that ice cream and you got vanilla and you think it's Rocky Road, those are just rat pellets.
You sound like the ramblings of a madman up there.
Well, you've said that I'm like, okay, Space Cadets, I'm not a madman. Most of the time, I'm just seeing what she's paying attention to me when I'm speaking, whether she's listening or not, like right now.
I'm listening. Just I don't have to look at you to listen.
Well, I like it when you look at me.
Yeah, because you're vain.
No, it means that you do care, and you can hide behind your monitor, but I can still see you. Anyway, what else you got there? Because we've got a few more minutes. What about housekeeping?
Housekeeping, sure. Let's do it. What is this? This is the last February date.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be back on the 3rd. I don't know what's going to be on the 3rd, but I know it'll be on the 10th.
Mm-hmm. And that is going to be an interesting interview. In fact, I will go ahead and give kudos where kudos is due.
Kudos is due?
Yes, do. Speaking of D, which rhymes with Dino, thanks, Dino. Our guest on the 10th is going to be, can you say his name? McClelland? Yes.
Oh, God. You would ask me this.
Well, if we're doing housekeeping, anyway, the guest
Clark McClelland.
Yes.
Engineer and tech assistant at NASA for years. His family goes so far back in the space program before there was a space program.
Mm-hmm. He
was a pioneer of it. That goes back, starting in 1958. His whole family has worked in the space program in one capacity or the other. His 6 family members from 58 to 1992, and he holds the record for most missions witnessed, most launches witnessed, and he has a story to tell that you need to hear, and we might be in a position, all of us, to maybe help him out, if for no other, even if it's just getting the word out about his story. So,
yeah, he is a very interesting person. We got a chance to talk to him. And he commands that you listen.
Yeah.
And
I'm a bit intimidated by this, I'll tell you the truth. So hopefully he'll do all the talking.
And we'll give him the room to talk.
I don't know what's going to be on March 3rd, but March is Women's History Month again. And I know we've done two great women of history shows, so maybe Spaceboy will let me do a topic on one woman or a couple of women, or there's an endless supply of great women of history. So we'll see what he lets me do.
Like I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
All right. I know that
man trying to keep us down
as we move forward into the future. We'll see what other exciting topics we cover. As we promised, more history topics. It seems to be a big hit when we do.
Oh, I like learning things.
As we also are moving forward, we're trying to acquire guests. And I put the word out there on Twitter and Facebook. If you've got a guest suggestion, send it to contact@spaceboyuniverse.com. That's contact@spaceboyuniverse.com. As you can tell, Dino made a recommendation, and we're reaching out to contact this guest that's going to be on the 10th. He'll be on, and that's cool. And
make sure the guest is open to being interviewed, please. So just make sure.
Well, I think that you got spooked from the when we talked to him, but I think it's going to be good. It's going to be these are the kind of shows that help bind the universe together. Wouldn't you agree? I
wasn't talking about anybody specific,
I'm
letting
just
our people know.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate those. What Sirlana is really saying is thank you for making your suggestions, because every little bit counts. And so,
yes.
Anything else you want to add, Sirlana?
I apologize for being stupid. There we go.
What? What do you... That doesn't sound like... What?
I go and I try to get things ready and updated for social media, and I try to change the date, and I do it, and I see that I've done it, I save it, I put it out there, and it's still wrong, and I don't know why. So my brain defeats me sometimes, and I don't know why.
Are you talking about the confusion with the 17th?
Yes, and I changed it the 24th in Photoshop, and I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I saved it down. I was in layers, and I saved it down. I saved it as a JPEG, and I saved it over, and I put it out there, and it's still wrong, and I don't know why my brain sabotages us like this.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. So I'm thinking maybe just have you do it or something.
I've got a lot on my plate right.
I know. We need an unpaid intern so bad.
Anyway, so on that magical note, we appreciate you tuned in tonight, and it's been an exciting evening, and I want to thank our guest, Steve Colbern, for coming in and talking about the alien implants and nanotube technology. Also would like to thank Stacy for calling in. Love you, sis. We appreciate you going in front of the firing squad with me, and maybe next time you can tell something funny and exciting and embarrassing on me. We want to thank K28 for the exciting jokes that he provides the chat room. Without K28's exciting jokes, where would we be? And at least we would have circus pants on. And on that note, I cannot wait to get my pants back off, because it's about time to go to bed. Wouldn't you agree, Solana?
Oh, definitely. Let's get it going.
All right. So from our house to your house, we love you. So this ends today's broadcast from Houston, Texas, also known as the space city we call home. We'll see you next week. My favorite space cadets. You know which ones you are. That means all of you. Good night.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Executive producer is Sir Lana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K, K28, Mark S, and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.